Welcome to Modern Monarchy. This is episode 3. Why is the computer doing weird things? It says something about it's actually recording. I hope it's actually recording. I hit the record button.
No, I think it said like it's recording at a higher quality than it.
Oh, actually recording. It's like when you're in the rear view mirror on your car says like things are actually closer than they may appear.
Yes.
Yes, that's what it was.
Audio
Hale,
quality is actually better.
Hale is here. She's another co-host.
Oh, she's drooling right now. She does have.
I thought you were gonna say she's shy or something.
No, so here's the thing about my cat. Is when she's happy,
Yeah.
she drools. But
Yeah.
like a lot.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
Fun fact, there's nothing wrong with her. This is just who she is.
Just excited.
Just wet.
Oh, right in the camera.
Oh. Bye, Hale. Oh, do you think there's... Do you want your water? Hold on. You might want to restart this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, this episode is going to be a spotlight episode on Princess Diana. And I've realized as I was making my notes that explaining things to somebody who I don't really know how much you know about the royal family and the peerage and all that stuff. I started explaining things way too minutely, and the notes got out of control. And I had to rein it back in, and I'm still at 12 pages of notes. So we're not going to really do the news.
Okay.
The only thing that is related to this episode is King Charles and Queen Camilla just had their 20th anniversary. How awkward for
I was
us.
going to say, I'm like, weird.
How awkward for this episode.
One marriage lasted.
No. So Diana and Charles never had a 20th anniversary, so they're doing the thing. Glad for them. Can you see the mouse? Because I can't see the mouse in my preview. Ooh.
Is that bad? Do you need to point to things?
Hopefully not. I just remember last episode that I did, and I thought I could see it at the time. Anyways, so I had like bullet points for what's going on in the news. There's nothing that really needs to be talked about. So we're just gonna go straight into the episode. I think as we go on and you accumulate more background information and I have to explain less, that the informational part of the episode can kind of tamper down a bit.
We can talk about the news because I'll actually know what's going on.
Yeah. Then I won't have to I think that's what happened last episode, spending 2 hours on the news, is because again I had to explain a lot more background so things made sense.
Fair. That's a solid assessment.
Okay.
And if that doesn't happen, that's a little bit of reflection on you. Just saying.
That was hurtful and true.
I'm a Leo. What do you expect?
I'm a Libra. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with feelings. I don't think Libras are sensitive.
No, not typically.
Anyways. I have a couple of things. I've kind of rearranged my screen a bit, so if my eyeballs are all over the place, the call is on a floating box. Yeah.
You're making it sound like, the DVD thing that would be like, boing.
That's exactly what it is. Except for the most of the time, it's going to sit in the middle here. Um, and then I have the slideshow over here and my notes over here because I tried to do the in the call, it gives me a little script box that I can throw my notes into.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, towards the end of the call, I was like losing my notes because the bullet points were all deleted, so things were all just like smushed together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we skip that. I
Good
have a
call.
whole document open over here,
Okay.
and I only have one screen. I someday maybe we'll have two screens, and that'll be great.
Highly recommend. Have to myself.
I have two for work, but that's a work computer.
Is one just a monitor though, or do you have
What do you mean?
like? Because if you have a monitor, if you just have it like an HDMI cord, you just
I'll
plug it.
like use the work other monitor.
Yeah.
I could work on that later.
I'm not saying do it right now. I'm just saying like as an option.
Maybe.
Fine.
I'm trying to come up with excuses to buy a whole new computer desktop, like a
Well,
desktop
you didn't
computer.
say that.
I want to spend
Obviously.
lots of money because I am a Libra. I know Libras like nice things.
But you didn't preface the conversation with, I want to do this, but I need a
An
little
excuse.
bit. I need you to buy into this with me.
Yeah, I need you
Um,
to help me out here.
Gotcha. Because I was helping in the other way of like practicality and efficiency and what do you already have? And you were like, that's not what we're going for. We're going for opulence.
Have you seen that monitor?
No.
It looks like it was made in like 2015. Ew, gross.
Probably was.
It probably was.
Anyway.
Um, so we have some little conditions for this one. We can't cover everything about Diana. If you're watching this and you have some thoughts on her that I don't cover, sorry, not gonna happen. I noticed as I was going through the timeline
Oh.
that things, ooh, hello, that things kind of
Feeling
happen
so good.
rather quickly, and it reminded me that her life was very short. But at the same time, the entire world was talking about this woman, and we cannot cover it all in one episode. So I'm not really going to talk about fashion too much. You'll see some of it in pictures, so that's great. But I figure I'll talk more about fashion and different sartorial choices that the royal family does next week when I have a whole fashion episode, and it'll be nice and light and breezy compared to this episode, which is going to be a bit of a downer. Not gonna lie. I'm not gonna talk about the media too much because I have a whole nother episode talking about like the monarchy and the media, and we can dive deeper into it then. If I say according to Diana at any point in this episode, more likely than not, it's from quotes of recordings of Diana from 1991. So they're separated at that point, and she's recording tapes for Andrew Morton to write a book about her side of the story. So take into account that she's looking back and remembering things. This isn't like quotes concurrent with whatever I'm talking about. And B, she might also be kind of spinning things a little bit to make it seem a certain way. Like we all do when we tell people about our lives. Da, da, da. Any excerpts read will be direct quotes. Diana talking to the interviewer. Yeah, that's what I just said. I don't know why I said that twice, but I said it twice. Isn't that
Just for
nice?
clarity.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask a question.
No,
Like,
no, you
are you
just
going
were
to make
saying
me
that
say it a third time? Just for clarity, when you say Diana said. Okay, now, unfortunately, I have to click to next slide, and we can no longer look at the fancy logo that I made. I worked so hard for
Womp
with
womp.
Chat GPT. Okay, Diana!
Picnic pants.
I love those picnic pants. I love uh I love her like mom fashion, like where she's just like she still looks just like perfect and just like slightly above average mom fashion, but
I
it's
love that you're like,
still
we're not going to talk about fashion. And I'm like, pants!
pants. I don't know. I'll just love
But you're
it.
right.
It's
I can see that.
as Megan
Elevated
would
mom.
say, it's elevated. So there she is as a baby. Well, a little bit more than a baby, but baby-ish. She was born the Honorable Diana Frances Spencer on the 1st of July, 1961. You weren't born the Honorable anything.
Talk
I just mean, like, that's actually, like,
about hurtful.
she was just, she's part of the aristocracy. So, I don't know what you, like, what you ever heard about her, but, like, she was always referred to as the People's Princess,
Right.
which is because the people loved her and she loved the people. But it always made it seem like, with that, along with the fact that her marriage and her wedding were always referred to as a fairy tale, that like it seemed like she was plucked out of like the common folk and married into the family. But
Right.
she was born the Honorable Diana Frances
I was going to say,
Spencer.
I'm like, you're a baby. What if you're a shitty person?
No,
And
there's
it's like,
honor in that baby.
do they take it away from you? Like, can they do that? Can they be like, no, you're not honorable anymore?
No.
So she literally could have been trash. And they would have always had to be like the honorable Diana.
Well, yeah, because it's a style, like a title ish, almost a title, not quite a title. It's
I
a
was gonna say,
style,
I'm like, but it's not really a title.
right? It's like because she is a younger child of somebody with a title.
So they're all honorable.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a thing.
Okay.
Good thing we have a whole episode later on titles and styles. Um, it just reminded me of something else that was in the news today that had to do with Meghan Markle. We're not going to get distracted. We're going on.
Pressing on. Is that where she
This
grew up?
very, very closely. This is Sandringham. Do you know Sandringham?
I've heard the name.
Okay, so this is the monarch's home. It's one of the private homes. They famously go there for Christmas every year.
Okay, that's where I've heard it before then.
And by that, I mean the queen would spend like from December to February at Sandringham. Like she would stay from Christmas to the anniversary of her father's death.
Hmm.
And he actually died in Sandringham.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
fun.
mean, if you're gonna die anywhere, that was a nice place to die.
It's comfy. So this is Sandringham. Is the next. The next one is the map. So we have a map.
Hmm.
Um, Most of these I hyperlinked, but then I ran out of time because I have over 100 slides. Um, but for the most part, I'm just showing you Sandringham's over here. Oh, you can't see my arrow.
I can see a map though, and
Okay,
you labeled the map so nicely, so I can see.
thanks. I try. um, so Sandringham's over there. They got a bit of the coast. It's a very chill, out of the way spot. I kind of have this map so that later on we can see like you know they get divorced.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's not a spoiler.
So like you can see like where all the different houses that they live in, and so the kids while they're in boarding school a lot of the time when they're tossed around between their parents, they're literally going like hours over here and hours over there.
Got it. So
Yeah.
it's not like, your ex-husband lives 30 minutes away in a different town.
Right. So I'm gonna click back over here. This is Sandringham, and then this is Park House. This is where the Spencers lived. This is where Diana's family lived. It is on Sandringham Estate, and it is half a mile from Sandringham House. Um, so again, she's very much familiar with the royal family. Very much not somebody who just came out of nowhere.
It's not Mia Thermopolis, is what you're saying.
She's not. Very much not. Oh, there she is again.
I love the sass.
Right. I knew it. I almost didn't put that picture in because I've seen it 300,000 times, but I was like, no, we gotta have it. Um, as a child, and I guess you could probably say through most of her life, she gets described as shy. People call her Shy Di. Um, but she also can be coerced to be a troublemaker and throw your clothes out the window and stuff like that. um, she loves taking care of her siblings. Like she has a little brother that she loved to take care of, and loved taking care of animals. She had rabbits and guinea pigs and hamsters and goldfish and who knows what else. This is her dad, and then um, all four of the siblings. They had Sarah, who's the oldest, born in 1955, and then Jane a couple years later, and then there was a John who was born a year before Diana, but he died the same day that he was born.
Oh,
And
sad.
then I know, and then Diana was born in 61, and then her youngest brother Charles was born in 64. And so you're going to notice throughout the.
Wait, use your cursor again.
Oh,
Now I can see it. What was
this is
okay?
this is Charlie.
I
This
figured based off of the names.
is
I know that's
Bananas.
not very 2025 of me, but it was 1950s,
Here's
60s.
Diana over here. You still see it?
I do see that, and I'm
Oh,
looking at
that's
the
fun.
side part.
um, yeah. So her dad is the Viscount Althorp. Um, his name is John Spencer, and so when he got married, what he's supposed to do is produce an heir. And so he got two daughters, and then he finally got a son and it died. And then he had a third kid, and she's another girl. And so he sent his wife down the road to a gynecologist to figure out what's up with that. Why are you only producing healthy girls? Why don't you ever produce a boy that'll survive? So that's awful and seemed to be rather embarrassing and part of the reason why their marriage didn't last.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm like, so what happened to her mom?
Also, it didn't make Diana feel very good. She's also forever gonna feel like she should have been a boy,
Hmm.
even though I don't know how it was back then or in her family. I would think that once you got the boy, you would kind of get over that whole like God, why do I have three girls?
Oh, but that didn't happen.
I don't know because there's a lot of things that Diana says that are quite contradictory, and I understand two things can be true at the same time. Because she had to say like she loved her dad. Her dad was great. He wasn't very touchy feely, but some dads aren't. And she always felt like she was her dad's favorite, but she
Girl.
also always felt like she should have been a boy
Got it.
and not in the I naturally feel like I'm supposed to be a boy
Right.
kind of
Right.
way. Um, so her parents are very beautiful. Hello, look at that.
Her dad does not look happy though.
I think that's his happy face.
Is it?
I think it is.
Oh,
I think maybe it's a posh happy. Like
okay.
I'm so happy.
A British happy.
Yeah,
I can't show it, but I'm
it has
thrilled.
limits. Da. There are John and Francis Spencer. Obviously, he's a Viscount, so his dad is the Earl Spencer, and Frances is the daughter of a Baron, and also um, John is. I don't know how to say this word in American English because in British English they put the stress differently from how I would think you would, and it's equerry. And I think in American English, we say equerry, but I don't know. He's basically like the personal assistant to Queen Elizabeth's dad for 2 years, and then he was personal assistant to Queen Elizabeth
Oh,
for two
that's
years.
cool.
Yeah. Um, and Francis's mother, so Diana's grandmother, Lady Fermoy, she is lady in waiting, one of the ladies in waiting to Queen Elizabeth's mom, the Queen Mother.
Got it. Okay.
And she is also a very old fashioned, no nonsense lady.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I just say that to say that this marriage doesn't last. Um, so by the time Frances has her, um, can you hear my neighbors
No.
making a
Are they getting
ruckus
bananas?
upstairs? They are getting bananas. Um, by the time she has that third child, John, who passes away, she's only 23. Yeah,
That's
she's like
so
married at like
young.
18 and just starts immediately pumping out children.
Which I'm sure was like, I get that that's probably normal in this situation, but it's
Yeah,
just wild to think. And then the fact that she like lost a baby, and then it was like,
she
keep
lost a
going.
baby, and then she also not only did she lose a baby, but she apparently wasn't allowed to ever hold the baby.
Like the
Like
one that
I don't
died?
know if I think he died really soon after. I don't think he came out stillborn, but he died extremely soon after, and that she never got to hold him.
That's so sad.
And then she was told to go to the gynecologist and figure out what the fuck's wrong with her.
No wonder she left.
And so she, on top of that, already seemed to be, much like Diana, a very emotionally unstable person, maybe a little bit of a whirling dervish of a person, where like she was like described to be warm hearted, but could also just like fly off the handle.
Right.
And also, she felt like she wasn't being really supported in this marriage. And she ended up, after when Diana was like 5, she ends up leaving John for another man. And when I said that her mother was very old fashioned, no nonsense, she had time for Frances's just like emotions being all over the place. She was like, "You're nuts." So when it came time to figure out who would have custody of the children, she testified against her own daughter. So Frances lost custody of all of her children.
Nice. Go Granny.
Yeah. Um, Diana says at some point that, like, well, her dad is mostly the more even keeled person and a good time at parties and buys her presents and doesn't really hug a lot, but whatever. She does complain about when she goes to school and whatnot that she doesn't want to be separated from her dad. But like towards the end of this marriage, when they're getting into fights, and I don't know if this was maybe like after she said, "I'm leaving you for another man." He didn't know that Diana was in the room, but she saw him slap her mother across the face. So,
Ah,
yeah,
that's the
that's a
thing
thing.
that sticks with a kid.
That's a thing that makes you sad. Da, da. Her parents separate in 1967 when she leaves him for another man, and then is dissolved and they get officially divorced in 1969. When Diana did get to see her mom, she says, quote, it was a wishy-washy and painful experience and a very unhappy childhood. Mom was always crying. Daddy never spoke to us about it. You can never ask him questions. Very unstable and very detached from everybody else. Which um, you'll see in life kind of it kind of repeats.
I was gonna
uh,
say, I'm like, I feel like I've seen this one before.
yeah, and I feel like it's not just this family. I feel like because a lot of the time in especially this aristocracy, you not only have people getting married because it looks good on paper, finding out that you're not getting along and having things end horribly, but also like the kids are usually going to boarding school. And so you're like literally not connecting with your children on a daily basis. So you all kind of grow up separated and detached from people. And so it only makes sense that these people have a hard time making family units again.
Right. Because, yeah,
So,
because like everything that is modeled to them is like really unhealthy. And then it's like, everybody go your own direction, like little
right.
dandelion seeds. And then you try to pull it together and be like, we're a family. And you're like, I don't
We're
even
a
know you.
nuclear family now.
Right. Take a picture. And you're all like, who are you?
I barely even know you. It's like I grew up, I'm 5 years older than my brother. So when I went to college, he was like 13. And I saw him on the holidays and in the summer. But like I missed a good chunk, almost all of his teenage years where he turned into a person. And
That's a
so
weird way to think about that. That's
so
crazy.
now we're very friendly and I know he's my brother and I love him and I do anything for him. But it doesn't feel exactly the same as when you're in the same house dealing with the same shit every day.
Right. Well, and it's funny that you say that too, because like my husband's in a similar situation in that, like, so he's 7 years younger than his sibling, his next sibling, but Maddie and Levi, his two siblings that are younger, are within a year. So those two are like tight, tight. And Josh is
Yeah.
like, I lived a totally different experience than you guys.
When I first met them, I was like, are they cousins? Like, I get cousin vibe. But yeah. So they unfortunately get divorced. And so they get divorced in 1969. May 2nd of 1969, her mother marries the man that she ran away with. His name is Peter Shand Kidd. Diana describes him as manic depressive. He could either be like spoiling them all the time, or somebody that you stay away from because he's in a bad mood.
Mm. That's hard
Super
for
fun.
kids too, like when people like when their parents are so volatile.
Yeah. So it would make sense that if you grow up in instability, that you're going to grow up kind of unstable.
Right. Well, because that's normalized. Ah,
So now he has full custody of the children. Um, they have a lot of nannies. Some of them are good and they like them, and sometimes they don't like them, and they do stuff like throw their clothes out the window and put pins in their chair and stuff like that, and that's fun. Um, she gets homeschooled by a Gertrude Allen, who I could not find a picture of. Rude. I have a slideshow to do. Oh, I had an extra picture of her and Mummy. How
Your
fun.
mom has such like you can see her eyes just look so she just looks so like defeated.
Yeah, and a little tired.
Like you just see it in her like I said, just in her eyes. She just looks really sad.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Here's a map. So I don't know why I felt like doing this, but I did.
I was gonna say I'm like directions.
So she lived at Park House, which is, I don't know if you can you see my mouse again?
Yeah.
Over here. And then this first school she's going to go to for a couple years is only 11 minutes away. And it's a day school. And it's super fun. And it's still filled private school. Um, her younger brother Charles went there with her for I think like a year before she moved on to another school. And he described it as a wonderfully happy place overseen by the kind, wise, and thoughtful Miss Lowe. I'm still lucky enough to have several close friends from my time at this exemplary primary school. The
Yeah.
outfit looks silly. I don't know if it's the hat. I don't know what's going on here.
It's like British boarding Madeline.
she also, she kind of looks like, I don't know, like she doesn't want to be as tall as she
Yeah,
is.
she looks like crouching a little.
And her, it looks like her brother and her have the same size socks. But just want to say this place was great, and that's great because Charles, uh, he is now the Earl of Althorp in today's time. He put out a book last year describing his time in private school after this, and it sounds really sad and abusive and scary. And so I'm glad he had a little bit of fun school time. I haven't read the book because I'm scared.
Wait, do you have a current picture of him?
mm, I can get one. He's on Instagram.
He is?
He has a podcast called uh it's like Down the Rabbit Hole or The Rabbit Hole Detectives. And it's a show where um there's him and two other people. They get three different topics, three different random weird topics. They go research them. They come back. They find the most interesting stuff to tell about their weird thing, and they share it with each other, and somebody wins at the end for who had the most interesting stuff. It's a good time.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I love it.
Let's find I think this is last year when he put out the book. Doop 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 doop.
So is it like a
Okay.
he must have gone to like probably an all boys boarding school. That's a thing,
Oh,
right? They would
yeah,
normally get like segregated by gender at that point.
yeah. Which one is it? It's this one. I don't know why on the right he looks like it's AI, but that's really him.
Huh.
That's him. I believe that's him in. all throughout the family home.
Something about his like little boy picture reminds me of like it looks like he was just told like he's one of the bratty kids who was just told he's going to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It's like you found a golden ticket, and he's like, I didn't ask for a golden ticket. I don't know.
I want to know who's doing their hair back then because it is like for children's hair, just brushed perfectly, coiffed, probably sprayed.
Probably. There's so much Aquanet in that kid's hair.
I don't think they had Aquanet then.
No,
In the 60s?
I think Aquanet's pretty old.
Or was it 68 that they were there? Why on earth does the share screen button like to play games with me?
Okay, Aquanet hairspray was invented in the 1950s. Raya of
Oh,
St. Paul, Minnesota, brought the product to retail stores by 1961. By 64, the hairspray had become the top-selling beauty product in America.
in America.
Yeah, but still,
Anyways,
that's a fun fact.
okay, he 100% had Aquanet. Was that what it was? Aquanet?
Aquanet.
Yeah. I don't know why that word sounds weird to me at this point. It's like if you said fork too many times and you're like, that's such a weird word.
Probably because we were having the, well, not we, but you were explaining the equerry versus aquery.
Uh, Equerry versus Equerry.
Ah. See, and as a
Um,
horse person, my brain hears that as like equerry, like Equerry.
it is, and it's because this person is the personal assistant that does like they do like the day-to-day scheduling and they are in charge of figuring out transport. And so they used to be the person who was in charge of making sure like everything with the horses is good.
Oh, so it really is that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I get it.
that that's why it's a word I can't figure out because it's old timey.
Fair. Anyways, I'm glad Charles had some nice school time.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll talk about Charles. Charlie boy. 1970. She moves into boarding school now. This is Riddlesworth Hall. She's now an hour away from her dad. Not great. Um, she said she adored the school, but she did feel rejected by her father because she didn't want to board. Uh, that's how unhappy she was to board. But she has some dope ass trunks with her name on it. Uh, she was a little more naughty in school and she wanted to play instead of sit in class. She liked doing school plays because she liked dressing up. She won the cup for diving 4 years in a row. She also won an award for best kept guinea pig. And then one time she was almost expelled because the girls dared her in the middle of the night to go down to the gate, which was like a half a mile from the building, uh, and meet up with somebody called Polly Fillmore to get some sweets. There is no Polly Fillmore, and the
Ooh.
school did call the police when they couldn't find her. Then, 4 years later, she gets sent even further away. She gets sent to West Heath Girls School, but now she's at least at school with her sisters, and I guess one of her first cousins is there at the same time that she is. She says about this that she does love learning, but she's terrible at testing, so she got terrible grades. She's thinking that she maybe wanted to study something about people, maybe psychology, something like that. Her sister Jane was a prefect, so Diana felt like she could be a bully the first year. And then when her sister wasn't there anymore, everybody at school paid her back for that.
Mm.
So she's not great at making friends. Uh, she would sneak out of her room in the middle of the night to like one of the grand hall rooms so that she could practice ballet for like hours instead of sleeping. So
Oh, yeah, no wonder
that's
she
how.
didn't test well. She was
Yeah.
sleep deprived.
Um, she loved playing piano, tap dance, tennis, hockey, netball. She loved being outside, and she loved going once a week. She would visit like an old people's home, and she would also go to a mental health facility down the road once a week, and she liked doing those two things.
That's nice.
She said that she didn't have any boyfriends because she wanted to keep herself tidy for whatever was coming her way. Like she's like, I'm gonna marry somebody of like maybe not importance. She was thinking like an ambassador or something,
Mhm.
but I don't want to have a history. Especially because like if you're in the aristocracy, I'm imagining you're only mixing with the same group of people. So if you sleep with somebody, everybody's gonna know about it.
Right.
Da, da, da. She said she told her father, I know I'm gonna marry somebody in the public eye. And her first cousin was also named Diana, but Diana McFarlane, who was there at the same time as her, said that in Diana's rooms, where everybody else had pictures of like pop stars and actors on the wall, she had pictures of Prince Charles.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean,
I find that to be an interesting choice when, like, I get that she hadn't met him truly yet, but like your family is mixing and mingling with his family.
right. I guess that's the other thing where it's like it's not like that far fetched.
Right.
It,
But you're putting his pictures on your wall?
right. Feels a
That's a
little,
little too close to home.
yeah, a little stalkery, but like not.
Not stalkery, because like she's not actually stalking him, but like I wouldn't put pictures on the wall of like somebody I could actually know.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, this is in 1987, I believe. And that was like the headmistress lady right there, and
Right.
Diana and her sisters.
Cat hair on my nose now.
Oh God. This is this is actually all throughout because in 1975 her grandfather dies, so her father inherits the earldom, and she's no longer the Honorable Diana. She is now Lady Diana Spencer.
Ooh, upgrade.
Yeah, she said at this point I wasn't very good at anything. Like she felt like she was still stuck at school, and she still got this chip on her shoulder for not being a boy, even though we're at this point 14 years old and still not
Still
feeling
hung
great
on to
about
that.
that. Um, she says that her parents didn't hide their feelings about that, about her not being a boy. She doesn't really get into that, but I
She
don't know.
makes mention
Like,
of it.
if you only see your dad on holidays, and I don't know when you're seeing your mom because she doesn't have custody, and you're in boarding school all the time, with the limited time they have with you, what are they saying?
Right? Or are you like exchanging letters and it's in paper? Like you have you're getting letters.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. She did write a lot of letters. She loved writing letters. Um, so I just wanted to remind you where Althorp is. It's called the Midlands in England. It's kind of mid.
Okay.
If you, I think in England they consider Manchester like the beginning of the north. I could be entirely wrong on that. But if that's true, then where Althorp is quite mid.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
You better.
You could be
I
making
know
all of this
everything.
up.
The year after that, he marries Rain, Countess of Dartmouth, who, they got married a year later, which means he got this house the year before, and she started dating him, which I find suspicious.
Nice house, buddy.
She went from being married to, is it a baron? No. No, it's an earl. She was married to another earl, but she's a countess.
Okay.
Um, the two of them actually had an affair, so she had to get a divorce from the Dartmouth guy to marry uh, old Johnny boy over here
To get into the fancy house.
to get into this fancy house. Um, all of his children hate her. She had
Nice.
nicknames like Rain Rain Go Away and Acid Rain.
Ah. Wolf.
There's a lot of stories of like later on in life he has a seizure and she won't let any of his kids see him, and just all around not getting along with his children.
So do we feel like she deserved the dislike?
I feel like she probably, well, it says, she said, okay, so Diana said she would find the kids' places, like she would just like pop up somewhere. And she would
Horrifying.
like give them lots of presents. But Diana says she didn't like her because she felt like she was going to take her dad away from her. So you can't really do anything about that. And I'm wondering if when she didn't get the response she thought she should get from giving children gifts, that she was like, well, fuck you.
Right. If you're not going to take my gifts, well, that's all I got
Yeah.
for you.
The only other thing I'm going to say about Rain is that in September of 1989, when Diana is at like peak, I am over this marriage shit. Um, they have a party at Althrop here, and even Diana's biological mother is at the party in a home she could have lived in, and she is like technically part of the family, but Rain didn't ever talk to Frances. She like just ignored the fact she was there. And Diana got pissed off about this. And according to Rain's former personal assistant, Sue Howe, she said that Diana had a furious row with Rain because Diana was so upset that her own mother had been ignored in the ancestral home, and she pushed her, and Rain, who was 70 at the time, fell down the stairs. And I can't remember where I've read it before, but I've read Diana talk about this briefly, and she's not apologetic that that happened.
I mean, okay.
So, complicated feelings about Diana.
Pushing old ladies down the stairs.
Like, loves taking care of or hanging out with old people, people who are dying, people who are sick, children, animals. Very warm hearted in that way. But if you cross her, she'll fucking push you down the stairs.
I mean, it
Yeah,
sounds effective.
it's just something to ponder. Okay, so 1977. We're back at Altrip still. This is when Diana says this is the first time meeting Charles. Her first thoughts about him were, God, what a sad man.
What are you doing over
Her sister Sarah, who's the girl in the picture on the right,
there? Okay. I was like, that doesn't
is
look like her.
Sarah is the oldest sister, and she's 6 years older than Diana. So she's much closer to Charles's age, who is like 11, 12 years older than Diana.
Right.
So Sarah, according to Diana, was all over him, and Diana's thinking, oh God, he must really hate that. She said, I remember being fat and pudgy, no makeup, unsmart lady, but I made a lot of noise, and he seemed to like that. And it's really sad to me that this, at the time, is what she considered fat.
I was gonna say, I'm like,
She
okay.
calls herself, in the time before the wedding, fat quite a bit. Even in recordings from 1992 where she reflects back on that time, she called herself fat again, which is not great. Self esteem, not up there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, she's 16 at this time. After dinner, there was a dance, and he danced with her and then asked her to show him the gallery. Her sister swooped in and intervened and took him off to the gallery. And for the next 2 years, he would kind of be off and on going out with Sarah.
I don't. Okay. Uh, all right. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Like, this is not something I feel like I remember hearing about that he dated her sister first.
yeah, but I also feel like this is about the time that, because it's not, he said in an interview on TV once that he was planning around 30 to get married because he wanted to like just do what he wanted and experience life in his 20s.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like this time before he actually picked who he was going to marry, he was kind of, I don't know, he had multiple burners going.
Got it.
Because, Camilla's still in the picture. Camilla got married in 1973, and right now we're in 1974. Charles and Camilla had a thing before she got married in 1973, and even after she got married, he was just like she was still considered one of his best friends.
I also guess I never really understand, like, if you guys had a thing then, like, I guess I never understood why they didn't get together sooner.
We'll have to go into that more on Charles's episode because I am not 100% sure what happened there.
Okay.
I know that he was sent away for 6 months to do something. Oh, was it in South Africa? Anyways, he was out of the country for 6 months. She got married while he was gone.
So in 6 months, she was just like, oh yeah, I found a dude, bye.
Yeah, but I think it was one of those situations where, like, again, the aristocracy is like this really kind of smallish group, especially people around your own age, and everybody's kind of like pairing off and being kind of like on and off with everybody.
Got it.
So, like, Camilla marries Andrew Parker Bowles. Before that, Princess Anne, Charles's sister, had also dated Andrew Parker Bowles. And just like, it felt like people were just kind of like back and forth and hot and cold. And then eventually you just like pick somebody.
I'm done with this for now. Got it.
Okay,
Were we in the L?
1970. Yeah, it's 1977. She goes off to finishing school at the School Institut Alpin Wiedemannet in Rougemont, Switzerland. It's an all-girls school. The lessons are skiing, cooking, dressmaking, and French.
I went to Switzerland to learn French. To learn
She
French.
likes
To
to
learn
go.
French.
This is where she got to go skiing,
Ooh.
and she had lots of fun. in the bar. But she didn't really like going to school there. She left after Easter the next year, and the first month she was there, she said that she wrote over 100 letters because she was just so miserable.
Oh,
And then when she left, she told her parents she wasn't going back and not to waste their money because she didn't want to be there. So when she got back, she wasn't old enough to live on her own yet. So for a few months, she looked after Alexandra, the daughter of Philippa and Jeremy Whitaker. I don't know why I put it an apostrophe S there. On their estate called Land of Nod until she was 18 and could get her own flat. So she just hang out with a baby in a field.
feral baby.
1979, she's finally 18. She gets to move to London. She moves into flat number 60 at Coleherne Court. It's a 3-bedroom property.
With a video walkthrough?
I think I cut the sound off so I could keep talking. It's a 3-bedroom property that was $50,000, which is today's money $316,000. It was a gift from her parents. She had some roommates and she charged them £18, which is now $113 a week rent, which is dope,
I was gonna say, I'm like, anybody would kill for that today.
right? This video is from 1998. Somebody had sold it and it was for sale so they could get in there and get some videos.
Got it.
um, One of her roommates said that Diana was a stickler for keeping things clean and had rubber gloves on, and she would just cluck about the place.
Clack about?
Uh, just cluck about. Diana, when she reflects on this, like, year and a half, because it's literally a year and a half before she gets fucking engaged.
I was gonna say, I'm like, imagine your parents just buy you a condo or an apartment, and you're like, that's cool. Bye,
Yeah,
marrying the future king.
yeah. So she says that this whole time is what she refers to as the happiest time of her life. Which you can imagine. She's in her own apartment, hanging out with her friends. They're in the middle of London. She do whatever the hell she wants. She's got money.
Right?
I
He's okay.
think it's almost over. You could probably. We don't have to watch him.
Not a
There's a,
choice of color I would have picked, but
you can tell this is like 1998 stuff because they're not very good at showing homes on video yet.
right.
They're like, here's this corner.
You can see a lot of things from here.
Okay. 3 days a week, she worked as a nursery teacher's assistant at the Young England School in Pimlico. 2 days a week, she was a nanny for an American couple, Pat and Mary Robertson. Pat worked for Exxon, and Mary worked for the Morgan Bank. And she watched their son Patrick, who's right here in this little stroller, for $5 an hour.
Where's Patrick today?
In America, I
I'm
bought the
I'm curious
book.
because like he gets to be like Princess Diana was my nanny.
Yeah, I bought the book that Mary wrote about her time with Diana because not only did she know them then, but when she got married into the family, she continued to write Mary letters. And
Yeah.
the whole family was invited to Diana's funeral.
That's nice.
Yeah. She also said that during this time she did a cookery course in Wimbledon and got terribly fat. She's
Okay.
so
I'm sensing
fat.
a theme already.
Yeah. July 1980. This is the first time a paparazzo, a journalist, a photographer, gets a picture of her knowing who she is. Like, this isn't just like somebody took my picture randomly or like my friends took my picture. This is the first time they were hunting her.
Got it.
So, she was invited by Philip de Pass to stay with his family. And he told her, "We've got the Prince of Wales staying. You're young blood. You might amuse him." Ew. She was 19. I think she was, yeah, no, she was 18. 18? 19. 1980? She was 19. And Charles is 31. Cool.
Yeah.
Arthur Edwards, the Sun's photographer at the time, was the first in his field to discover Diana. Polo match. This was at a polo match in Cowdrey Park. I could say that wrong.
Sounds good.
Yeah. He had heard that Charles was arriving with a lady, Diana Spencer, through some connections, and then he spotted a girl with a necklace with the letter D on it and asked if she was Diana. So, yeah, this is quoting his article he wrote about this. Those first early meetings with Diana, just a shy teenager, remain burned into my memory oh my God, I cannot talk anymore. Nearly 40 years on. My job on The Sun have been to be the first to identify and photograph the woman who would steal the prince's heart. I did find her and the photograph. Oh my gosh. I did find her and photograph her before my rivals. But I shoved the picture in a drawer because I couldn't believe the prince, who was nearly 32, would be going out with a teenager.
Why are we so surprised?
Uh, I mean, I think everybody else before this had been around his age. And not to get too much into it, I think that obviously he was in love with Camilla. That was number one.
Right.
But now she's married, so can't. And then
Well,
he is also trying to find somebody to fit the spot of being queen someday, who also doesn't have any sort of history with other people that could get her in trouble in the press, which unfortunately means you cannot marry another 30-year-old because she's gonna have a history. So I don't know if that was his thought process. If I find a really young girl, it's gross. And it's more gross considering the fact that, like, everybody in the group seems to be working together to get them together.
mm,
You notice how, like, Philip de Pass invites her over
right.
because we're going to have the Prince Charles. You should pop over.
You're young.
uh, oh, yeah. Do you mind? Can you read?
Yeah, I can read.
Can you read, though? Did I get the wrong thing? No, I didn't. Hold on. Can you read not the first highlighted part, because obviously that's the end of a sentence.
Okay. Then I was asked to stay at the De Passes.
Yeah.
Okay, in July 1980 by Philip de Pass, who is the son. Would you like to come and stay for a couple of nights down at Petworth because we've got the Prince of Wales staying? You're a young blood, you might amuse him. So I said, okay. so I
Because you're
sat,
19. Okay.
so I sat next to him, and Charles came in. He was all over me again, and it was very strange. I thought, well, this isn't very cool. I thought men were supposed to not be so obvious. I thought this was very odd. The first night we sat down on a bale at the barbecue at this house, and he had just finished with Anna Wallace. I said, "You look so sad when you walked up the aisle at Lord Mountbatten's funeral." I said, it was the most tragic thing I've ever seen. My heart bled for you when I watched. I thought, it's wrong. You're lonely. You should be with somebody to look after you. The next minute, he leapt on me practically, and I thought this was very strange too, and I wasn't quite sure how to cope with all this. Anyway, we talked about a lot of things, and anyway, that was it. Frigid wasn't the word. Big F when it comes to that. He said, you must come to London with me tomorrow. I've got work at Buckingham Palace. You must come to work with me. I thought this was too much. I said, no, I can't. He said, how will I explain my presence at Buckingham Palace when I'm supposed to be staying with Philip? Then he asked me to cows with Britannia. What?
The boat, the yacht.
Oh, got it. Okay. Then he asked me to cows on Britannia. Is it cows? Code?
I think it's coos. Cows. I don't actually know. Continue.
Okay. Then he asked me to cows on Britannia. And he had a lot of older friends there, and I was very intimidated, and they were all over me like a bad rash. I felt very strange about the whole thing. Obviously, somebody was talking.
Yeah. So that's weird, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. The couple of times she's met him so far, it's just like all of the sudden he's like, I'm obsessed with you. We need to hang out.
Right.
And I don't know what all over me means, but it sounds a bit much.
That seems like an understatement.
Yeah.
And
It
it
seems
feels
like
very
maybe
convenient in the moment. But then it's like
it
if she's
just
not around, he like forgets she exists.
exactly. And that's going to continue. And I feel like that's his MO with dating everybody.
Okay.
And that doesn't work for most people.
Right? Agreed.
Um, so they meet at the polo match. They get spotted on uh, Britannia. And then later, it's now September of 1980, Arthur, who's the guy that took the previous picture,
Mm-hmm.
went up to Balmoral because the royal family would go there for summer vacation every year.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes up there, he's driving around, checking things out, see if he can find anything. He spots Diana dressed like a man, so he says. While Charles is fishing, he said, I stopped the car and I tore across the field. When Diana ran away, she hid behind a tree and then used a mirror to try to look over her shoulder to see where I was. And then she made a dash through the trees, and I got some more pictures, which I can't find. She was at Balmoral. She says not because she was invited by Charles, but she was invited by her sister because her sister's husband was assistant private secretary to the Queen. So everybody can come up and hang out. At this point, Charles is asking to hang out more frequently, like what he would do with Sarah before, where he would just randomly call her up and ask her if she wants to go for a walk or come hang out at a barbecue. And she says every time they hang out, Camilla and her husband are always there. And it's always a group of friends and people they know. And she's always the youngest person by a mile.
Right.
So it's like everybody knows what's going on.
Ew.
It's just, ew.
Right.
Yeah.
Very organized, ew.
But she's like 19 and this is awesome. But at the same time, she's like, it seems a little.
This feels weird.
Yeah. But if I was 19, I'd also be like, fuck it. We're having fun.
I mean, apparently, and this is a conversation I've had with friends, 19 is the year to do that. We all were a little bit like that at 19.
At 20, I was in Europe fucking around.
At 19, I was in Utah fucking around.
Yeah. Like, I want to go somewhere. I'm going to Rome by myself. I'm going to Copenhagen by myself. We're going out to the bars on the weekends and most nights actually. And where there's what was I in some situations I would not be in today? 100,000%.
Absolutely. I love when I tell one of those stories around my mother and my mom is like, "What?" And I'm like, "I didn't know that." And she's like, "No." Or like then she'll tell me a similar story from her 19-year year. And I'm like,
19th
"What?"
year?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
I think we all just collectively 19 is a crazy year.
it is. You're like, I'm an adult.
Right. With zero ability to make smart decisions
I have no responsibilities whatsoever.
and no concept of death.
So, days after the Balmoral thing, the press are all collectively starting to figure out that she's dating Charles. And they find her at her job with the school. And she's like, listen, if I agree to sit down for some pictures, will you leave us alone? Because I'm like watching other people's children. On the other hand, she did have other people's children in the picture, which is not cool by
Right?
today's standards. But I feel like in the moment she was kind of using them as like security blankets.
Right?
Um, she agrees to photos if they'll leave her and the children alone. She doesn't realize that the sun is shining through her skirt so that you can see the shape of her body
Oh my god,
first.
she's a woman. She's got legs.
This is a newspaper clip if you'd like to read.
Posing for what she vowed would be the quote unquote positively the last quote positively
We
the,
did unquote.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, I shouldn't have unquoted yet. Quote, positively the last, unquote, of numerous pictures. She was mildly embarrassed by one evening paper picture which showed she was not wearing a slip under her cotton skirt patterned with floral hearts. I was so nervous about the whole thing, I never thought I'd be standing with the light right behind me, she said. I don't want to be remembered for not having a petticoat.
Okay, so this is where the obsession with Diana starts with the paparazzi. And she doesn't have any security. So it's really easy to find her on the street. And these are all remind me of like 1996, 1997, where she's just trying to go to the gym and stuff because she's not in the royal family anymore. And so she's just trying to like kind of live a normal life.
Right. She's
And
just
you
trying
know
to
that's not
exist,
happening.
really.
Yeah. Um, The press move into, like, they rent out the apartment across the street so they can look into her bedroom and they call her constantly. Most of the
Nobody
courtship
thought this
takes,
was crossing a line.
they had no morals.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Like, nowadays, the British press have agreements that, like, if the royal family is off doing something private, like on vacation or something, unless they've been given permission to like have a photo day or something, they don't post pictures that
They're
show
not
up of
buying
them on vacation.
apartments across from other people's apartments.
They're 1,000% not doing that. But like, for example, this last week, a week or so ago, the Waleses, William and Catherine and the kids, went on a ski trip to France, and the French media took a bunch of pictures, but you will not see them show up in any British press because they've agreed to not do stuff like that anymore.
And is it because of Diana?
Mostly, I think she's definitely a big factor in why they have a lot of different agreements.
Okay. That's
Um,
fair.
so most of their courtship takes place over the phone. Uh, it's reported
That sounds like 90 Day Fiance or some shit. Most of the.
pretty much. I mean, it's reported that they only meet 13 times before Charles proposes. And pretty sure Camilla was there most of the time.
That is so weird.
Around the time of the engagement, she said, I realized somebody was around, aka Camilla. She'd been staying at the Parker Bowles' house an awful lot and didn't know why. And Camilla was also just like coaching her on how to deal with Charles. Like, don't push him too much. He gets irritated and like he really likes to do these things and he likes to eat this food. Real fucking weird.
I was gonna say, I'm like very odd for your husband's mistress to be coaching you on how to be his wife.
Yeah, and Camilla also seems to know everything that Charles and Diana did.
Nice. Creepy. Oh,
I got some more stuff for you to read.
okay.
This is hold on. This is uh this is how he proposed to her privately.
Anyway, the next day I went to Windsor and arrived about 5 o'clock, and he sat me down and said, I've missed you so much. But there was never anything tactile about him. It was extraordinary, but I didn't have anything to go by because I'd never had a boyfriend. I'd always kept them away. Thought they were all trouble. And I couldn't handle it emotionally. I was very screwed up, I thought. Anyway, so he said, Will you marry me? And I laughed. I remember thinking, This is a joke. And I said, Yeah, okay, and laughed. He was deadly serious. He said, You do realize that one day you will be queen. And a voice said to me inside, You won't be queen, but you'll have a tough role. So I thought, Okay. So I said, Yes. I don't like the way she writes. I said,
It's not her writing, it's exact quotes of her talking on a tape. Like she's answering an interviewer right now.
Okay, well, then I don't know that I like it any better.
Well, like it's how you would speak to a
Yes.
person. You just like say stuff as you're thinking of it.
Well, either way. So she said, so I said, yes. I said, I love you so much. I love you so much. He said, whatever love means. He said it then. So I thought that was great. I thought he meant that. And so he ran upstairs and rang his mother. In my immaturity, which was enormous, I thought that he was very much in love with me, which he was. But he always had a sort of besotted look about him. Looking back at it, it wasn't the genuine sort. Who was this girl who was so different? But he couldn't understand it because his immaturity was quite big in that department, too. For me, it was like a call of duty, really, to go and work with the people.
So that's how he proposed. I
That
mean,
is so terribly unromantic for a man that probably has access to all of the most like romantic ways to propose to a woman ever.
it was very much like, okay, Wednesday at 5, I have to get engaged, and then at 6, I have to have dinner with mummy.
Right.
Like, and not picking up on any clues that she's not taking this seriously
Right?
at all because she's like, we don't have a connection yet.
Right? But you seem to think we do.
Like when we meet up, you're just like all over me like a hot rash, and that's about it.
That's all he needed, apparently.
Mm. Um, just ignore that for a second.
Okay. Now what?
So, I wrote, the press continues to get worse. Uh, it's going to start what is a nasty trend of her trying to drive places and then hounding her. And so she starts running through red lights so that she can zip through so that they can't. I guess hoping that they also will respect the red light that she didn't. Um, her grandmother, the one that testified against her mother earlier,
Yeah.
let her borrow her car sometimes so that maybe they wouldn't know who she was because she liked to drive around on a bike. Um, She would shimmy out the window through the kitchen window on a bed sheet to go visit Charles sometimes to avoid the press. She said she stayed polite, uh, cried at home about all of the press surrounding her, um, and she tried to ask for help from the palace, but she's just our girlfriend. But so they were like, we can't help you, sorry.
Right. That's unfortunate. Sucks to be
That
you.
sucks. Just hope you get married soon. And then Charles would call her and tell her about poor Camilla being hounded by like four photographers. And Diana's like, I've got like 34, but she wouldn't say it. She just would like listen and be like, yeah, that sucks for Camilla. So yeah, some of the problem is Diana never actually like
Speaking up.
saying, yeah, speaking up, saying her inner thoughts. And her grandmother, the not so nice one, who was the only person I could find to give her some decent advice at this point, and said, Darling, you must understand that their sense of humor and their lifestyle are different, and I don't think it will suit you. She's not freaking wrong.
Well.
um, before before they announced their engagement, I think even before he actually proposed, Charles buys Highgrove House, which is this house right here. I go to the map. It's down here.
Wonderful.
And it's down here. He bought it because it was closer to Wales and, oh my gosh, the Duchy of Cornwall. He's also the Duke of Cornwall. Um, and he is Prince of Wales. So he wants to be like, have a foundational home in that area of the country.
Got it.
And that will become like the family home for the Waleses. Like Diana will move in there. Before they even get married, he lets Diana start renovating it and decorating because he doesn't really have time or he's not that great at doing it. But he's like, here you go, 19-year-old, decorate my house.
Here's something fun to do. It's like
And
sitting your
also,
wife at the kids' table with a coloring book.
I mean, yeah, yeah. He's more into the garden aspect. He loves the gardens. To this day, he loves the gardens. You can visit the gardens there. Um, oh my gosh. Oh, so it's also near country homes of some of his friends. Diana specifically points out that it's 11 miles from where Camilla lives.
Of course.
You know, that'll happen. Before the uh, engagement is announced, because we already know it's actually going to happen, so she's a step above a girlfriend right now. They move her into Clarence House, which also houses the Queen's mother.
Got it.
And Clarence House is in London. It's very close to Buckingham Palace. It's over here.
Okay.
Okay. She gets a police officer to be like a security guard. And the night before the engagement is announced, he tells her it's her last night of royal freedom, so make the most of it. When she gets in there, there is a letter on her bed from Camilla inviting her out to lunch because Charles is going to go to Australia and New Zealand for 3 weeks soon. And she says, I'd love to see the ring. Lots of love, Camilla. Oh, is this the engagement video?
It was 1977. The Charles came to stay as a friend of my sister Sarah's for a shoot. We sort of met in a ploughed field.
I'm slightly previous to that, but I know.
And what did you think then? What was your instant impression, both of you? What did you think about Lady Diana?
Well, I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. And having great fun and fancy and full of life and everything. And I don't know what you thought of me.
Pretty amazing.
I
Hold
don't
on,
like
there's
that
one
he
more.
explicitly pointed out she was 16.
Yeah. I also get stuck on the word bouncy.
Yeah.
It was 1977.
I want the
And
next
she
one.
just seems so uncomfortable.
Sort of time, right sort of word, isn't it, really? Just delighted and happy. And I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Well, it
You can
obviously
put your own
means,
interpretation.
obviously means two very happy people.
Yes.
Well,
Once
you can
again,
see.
congratulations. Well, from us, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very kind.
And that
It's
part
like-
I've seen before, where he reiterates that whole whatever that means.
Right, but then you also add in the fact that he said that privately to her too,
Right.
before. So this is not just like an awkward thing he said on the camera, like he was trying to not sound too sentimental or something.
Right.
This is something he said to her privately.
Right. And it definitely, I feel like sometimes, the way that I've seen it portrayed is that it was a shock to her.
Yeah. It was, though. I mean, it was in the way of the first time she heard it, when she was getting engaged to, she thought everything was a joke. And then when he says it on camera to the entire world, you're like,
right.
what?
Oh, you meant that.
Oh, what?
Dang.
Okay.
That's you. Oh, okay.
I'll
Not what I
show you a
would've said.
video later where she explains her thought process while that question is being asked and answered. But that's later. We'll get there.
Yeah, stop getting ahead of yourself.
So a week after the engagement is when she says the bulimia starts, because he put his hand around her waistline and said, "Oh, a bit chubby here, aren't we?" When she already had thought she was fat.
And she
For a while now.
most definitely was not.
Yeah.
Okay.
She said the first time that she threw up, we'll just say it. She said she was thrilled because it felt like it relieved a bunch of tension, but obviously it was not something healthy for her, because the first time she was married for her wedding, the first time she was measured for her wedding dress, her waist was 29 inches, and it was 23 and a half for her wedding day. She got proposed to at the end of February, and they were married in July.
That's so bad.
Yeah. The picture here is the end of March. The Prince and Queen Elizabeth have to go to a Privy Council meeting that give the actual written permission from the Queen for them to marry, which this is the best picture I could find of it.
Okay.
It's just a lot of words for Mummy said okay.
Right.
This picture's really famous of her crying at the airport as he's getting ready to leave for Australia. And she said everybody thought she was crying because he was leaving and she was going to miss him, which is impossible because
She doesn't
he never
know
talked
him.
to her, really. She said she was crying because right before that, she was in his study and they were talking about something. And then Camilla called, and he went to go talk to Camilla.
I mean, why are we surprised at this point?
Then she has lunch with Camilla. Basically, Camilla's like probably coaching her a little more, asking her questions like, "You're not gonna go to hunt, are you? Like, you're not gonna go hunt when you're at Highgrove, right?" And Diana's like, "No, why?" She's like, "Oh, I just wanted to know. Like, I want to know when I can have your husband to myself."
Right? Exactly. When can I sneak off with him? Just want to know your
Yeah,
schedule.
I'm just curious. Now that they're engaged, they can go out together. This is her first, like, I don't want to say engagement because they're not doing anything. They're going out to a show. Um, she chooses to wear this dress, and Charles is like, "You're wearing black. That's for funerals. So, what's that about?" And she was like, "Well, it's the dress I picked." Also, everybody um is all worked up because you can see her cleavage.
Hmm.
And so this event was like this, and like the next few events are just like how she's learning how to get through these outings. Like she can't wear black, or she has to make sure things aren't revealing, even though she picked this dress because it's what girls her age would wear
Right.
to go out. And then she's like, "I don't even know, do I hold the handbag in the left hand or the right hand?" And eventually she learns that if she brings a clutch bag to an outing, when she gets out of the car, like when you lean over to get out of the car, she can use the bag to cover up her cleavage so she can at least get out without a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "I don't even know, do I go on through the door before Charles or after Charles?"
Right. All these little like idiosyncrasies that you wouldn't know.
Yeah. And she's like, "If I hadn't been brought up the way that I was, it would have been 10,000 times worse. Because at least in her family, with her family being so close to the royal family, she has some idea of how to get through this." Oh, where's my mouse? 2 weeks before the marriage, she finds a parcel. I think this is in The Crown if you saw it. It's in Charles's office, and the staff member in the office tells her not to look at it. So she's like, "Obviously," so I opened it.
Duh.
She said she found a gold chain bracelet with a blue enamel disc with G and F on it. Diana says it means Gladys and Fred, which she thinks is Charles and Camilla's nicknames for each other. Another source said Charles gave a bunch of his ex girlfriends slash girl best friends bracelets before he got married that said GF on them for like Girl Friday.
What?
Either way, I don't want my fiance giving presents to other women before we get married.
Right?
Real weird. So she does confront him on it, and he just cuts her off. Said he made his decision. He's doing it. She says that he gave Camilla the bracelet 2 days before the wedding. Um, Diana says she told her sisters that she couldn't marry him, and it doesn't say that she told them why. It just says that she didn't want to marry him anymore. And her sister said, "Well, bad luck, Dutch. Your face is on the tea towels, so you're too late to chicken out."
Right?
I'm imagining if they knew that there was probably an affair going on, maybe they wouldn't be so like,
Get over it.
"Shucks out of luck."
Too bad.
uh, 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 I love this picture. I love all the pictures of her in the carriage with her dad because there's so much freaking dress in that
It
carriage.
looks like she's like in a chiffon bathtub.
She is. They get married at St. Paul's Cathedral in July of 1981. The night before, Charles sends a signet ring to Clarence's house for her with a note that says, "I'm so proud of you, and when you come up, I'll be there at the altar for you tomorrow. Just look 'em in the eye and knock 'em dead."
What? What? That feels like you're giving like a speech at graduation.
Graduation, or like right before somebody has like a show they gotta do.
Right? Knock 'em down.
That's show business, baby.
Ring a leg.
Nothing like, "I'm so excited. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. I love you so much."
Knock 'em dead.
She spent the night with her sister Jane at Clarence's house, and she said there was definitely a lot of throwing up. But then the next day, she was very, very calm, deathly calm. "I felt like I was a lamb to the slaughter. I knew it, and I couldn't do anything about it." Also, 750 million people watch worldwide. They all watched the sacrifice. This is my favorite picture. This is one of my favorite pictures of all time. There's something about the way that like the heads come down and then the queen is back over here, like the composition.
Right. I was gonna say the
of
whole.
And like the one of the shortest people in the picture is the tallest person in the picture. And the way that the light comes in, and it's like, if I could get this framed, I would, but I need it in pristine quality. I love this picture. She's the first English woman to marry an heir to the throne in 300 years. The last person was Anne Hyde, who married the future James II, from whom the princess was descended. Her silk taffeta dress had a 25-foot train and was designed by the Emanuels, which is a design couple that she would work with rather frequently. I love these happy pictures. It's good to have some happiness, okay?
I mean, the two girls to the left and the front don't look happy, but you know.
You know what? They're just upset they have to wear tights. Her veil was held in place by the Spencer family diamond tiara. She said, "I just remember being so in love with my husband that I couldn't take my eyes off him. I just absolutely thought I was the luckiest girl in the world."
I thought you were a lamb to slaughter.
That was in the morning. After, remember, we're a little unstable, which means we can be happy anytime, and then we can be real sad anytime.
Got it. Okay.
I think it was like in the morning getting ready. It was very daunting because she didn't want to do it. But then once she got in the carriage and was going through the streets and had hundreds of thousands of people be so fucking excited for this, how else are you going to feel other than like so fucking excited?
I mean, maybe.
And then, of course, Camilla was there.
I was about to say, I'm like, but does it really overshadow an affair?
Ah, look at that.
Oh, look, she's kissing him and he's not really kissing her.
Then they go on their honeymoon for a few weeks. It starts at the Mountbatten family home in the Broadlands.
Probably the longest time Charles was away from Camilla.
It was awful. Actually, Diana even says at the beginning of the marriage, he stops hanging out with Camilla. Like he's trying. And she said I don't know how she heard this, but Prince Philip had told him that you should try for 5 years, and then if it doesn't work, go back to the other woman. Diana said it. I don't know how she would have heard that. But she was like, it's just so strange that exactly after 5 years, he went back to the other woman.
Mm.
Um, so they start at the Mountbatten family home, then they fly to Gibraltar to take the royal yacht for a 12-day cruise, and they end up at Balmoral. Right from the get-go, Charles brought a series of 7 books with him that he could read, so that he could read them and then discuss them with her over lunch. How
So she's
fun!
in book club that she didn't sign up for reading the book.
He's like, I'm on vacation. I could finally read.
And you're going to listen when I talk about it.
Yeah. The books were by Sir Lawrence Vanderpost, which is a Jungian mystic and spiritual advisor that eventually, because he's the prince and he can talk to whoever he wants to, he's going to take on this guy as a spiritual advisor.
Oh.
Yeah. Charles would make this guy eventually godfather to Prince William.
Oh.
Uh-huh. In 2002, this guy was discovered to be a fraud who deceived people and lied about everything.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah. So,
what was his like philosophy? Like, what was his shtick?
I don't really know. I left that for Charles's episode.
Okay, fair. Okay.
I'm just like pointing out that Charles is really close to this guy and really believes in whatever this guy's putting out. When they go to Balmoral at the end of their trip, when he's like, wow, this girl really has a lot of mental health issues. I should get Lawrence over. He can help her.
Got it.
Yeah. Before they get to Balmoral, when they're on the Britannia, they have other people on the yacht, and she's like, we have to like entertain them throughout the day. And she's having massive bouts of bulimia. She's tired all the time, mood swings all over the place. At some point on the yacht, they take out their diaries to like coordinate scheduling and stuff. And 2 pictures of Camilla fall out of the diary, and the cufflinks that he's wearing have 2 C's intertwined. And he's like, what? I don't understand what the problem is. They're just a present from a friend. And she got real upset about that. I don't know why. But yeah, they go to Balmoral after that. She sees this Vanderpost guy, and she's like, that guy did not understand me. And I'm like, oh, maybe because he's a shill. She's they're at Balmoral from August to October. She's getting more and more depressed and thin and sick. And she also starts trying to like cut her wrist for the razor blades. Yeah, it's just getting better and better. So she goes down to London to see multiple psychiatrists. This is how their marriage is starting.
I was gonna say, I'm like, this is just the beginning.
It's just immediate. She sees multiple psychiatrists, and she says they put her on high doses of Valium. But later on, she also says anytime anybody gave her Valium, she never took it. But she was like, they just gave it to me so that they could go to bed at night knowing the Princess of Wales wasn't going to stab anyone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So while she's in this really healthy state of mind, that's Britannia and Balmoral on their honeymoon, hanging out. She gets pregnant with her first kid. Great time to be pregnant, because now she can have bulimia and morning sickness. How she grew a child,
I was gonna
I
say,
have no idea.
It's beyond me.
How did he come out healthy? Is what I want to know, because no nutrients is going into that person.
Right?
Um, she's still saying like she's still doing engagements and stuff, so you still see pictures of her going out and smiling, but really, a lot of the time she's miserable and throwing up, so that's fun. Um, this is also the time that she gets pregnant in October, and then Christmas is when we go to Sandringham, and that's where she says she threw herself down the stairs because she was talking to Charles and he wasn't listening, and to get his attention, she threw herself down the stairs, and then he like basically like walked around her and was like, I'm not gonna listen to this. You're always doing this. I'm going riding now. I mean, there's different versions of that story. There's like a footman who says that she just like they were fighting. That part of the story is always true, but that like she tripped on her dress and she just like tripped down 3 steps or something. But other people say she did fall down the stairs, but she tripped. But Diana also says that she threw herself down the stairs.
Got it. So we don't really know.
She went down some stairs.
Right. Whether of her own volition or
Doesn't
not, we don't know.
doesn't really matter if she threw herself down the stairs because she's already admitted to trying to slit her wrists. And she'll talk about more suicidal stuff later on.
Got it.
So this doesn't really matter.
Okay.
La, la, la. Prince William Arthur Philip Louis was born on the 21st of June, 1982. According to Diana, the Queen said, thank goodness he hasn't got ears like his father.
What just happened?
What do you mean?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah?
Okay, why can't I hear you now?
Uh-oh.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now I can hear you again. That was really weird. I think my I think the charger for my computer like moved and it fucked everything up.
Okay. Okay, I'll just start over.
Okay.
Did you Did you hear the thing about the ears?
No.
Okay. So, Prince William Arthur Philip Louis, born June 21st, 1982. According to Diana, the Queen says, thank goodness he hasn't got ears like his father.
Oh,
Isn't that nice?
always a very kind woman.
Yeah. I think it's just like picking on your family kind of humor.
I agree. I just think it's funny when the Queen does it.
After she has William, she has a lot of postpartum depression, as you would imagine.
I was gonna say, I'm like, well, considering it seems like there was depression prepartum.
Yeah, but it turned more into panic whenever Charles didn't come home when he said he would. And it was more of like something happened to him. He's probably dead.
Interesting.
That kind of.
Was it wishful thinking?
The depression has changed. When
What a
Prince
fun little
William,
lizard collar.
I know, right? It looks a lot like the dress from here,
Right?
but maybe they changed the collar. I don't know. When William is 6 months old, they go on a tour of Australia and New Zealand. Diana at this point feels like she's growing more into her role as Princess of Wales, which is good. We're gaining some confidence. Getting used to everyone wanting to see her and being on the front page of papers. This is where we get the the idea that maybe Prince Charles is a little bit jealous of his wife because people are literally saying, oh, we're on the wrong side. We want to see her. We don't want to see him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But, like, if you think about it, they've seen him. Like,
Yeah.
we want to see her. She's pretty. She wears nice dresses. You wear suits. We've seen that.
She's nice to us, not weird.
In the Crown, it's made to seem like Diana couldn't cope being away from her babies, so she brought William with them. But according to Diana, she was like, it was only like a couple of weeks. Like, I would have been fine. It was actually the Australian Prime Minister who thought it would be a really good idea if you brought the baby.
People love babies.
People love babies. And it's true. Look how freaking cute he is.
They totally just use this tactic in one of the latest episodes of The Handmaid's Tale, too.
Oh, I don't watch that.
Oh, it's a lot like reality.
That's why I don't watch
Fair. Fair. But yeah, they totally used a baby to be like, look, it's a baby.
It's a baby. Everybody love a baby.
Basically, and they're like, wow, you must be doing something right because there's a baby.
Well, now we got two babies.
Oh, double.
Prince Henry Charles Albert David is born September 15th, 1984. Diana says that Charles and Diana were the closest they'd ever be in the 6 weeks before he was born.
Oh, what a weird,
And then
sad.
after that, everything went down the drain.
No.
She claims that he said, oh God, it's a boy. And he's even got red hair. Like, there's a couple of things wrong with this child. I wanted it to be a girl, and where did the red hair come from? The red hair does come from the Spencer side of the family.
Right.
But, Diana says that at Harry's christening, Charles said to her mother, we were so disappointed. We thought it'd be a girl. And then she snapped at him, you should realize how lucky you are to have a child that's normal. Probably mostly because her child died.
Right.
Sorry, the cat walked on the keyboard and I can't see anything now. There we go. Thanks.
I know.
But later on, like when Charles gets to know the child a little more, she said that he absolutely adores him and Harry might be his favorite.
Oh. I love that we so openly like favorite our children in the monarchy.
I mean, you have to.
Just so everybody knows, this one's the favorite.
In 1985, they have a 45-minute interview, and the whole thing is on YouTube. I'm not sure why they have this interview, other than people are curious about the royal family, but, like, I don't know if it was maybe to endear them more to Diana, because it's 1985. People have seen Diana for a few years at this point, and she's been kind of touted as this angelic, perfect, wonderful thing, and rumors are starting to get out that she's a little all over the place, and rumors are getting out that she's domineering and actually just a nightmare to live with. So there's a group of people that hate her, and so she's starting to get some bad press.
Got it.
But this interview is very 1985 in that there's a lot of very personal questions of, why are you so thin? Yeah. Do you guys have a lot in common? Have you tried to change Charles? Did you turn him vegetarian? I'm just gonna play one little clippy. chose to do this just to see like the difference in her on camera personality between the engagement interview when she was like 19 and now.
Got it.
She seems to be a little more
Well, now,
personable.
two questions that everybody will want to have answered. What do you say, ma'am, when you read in the papers that you are a determined, domineering woman?
I don't always read that. I'm people very willing to tell me that. But I don't think I am. I'm a perfectionist with myself, but not necessarily with everybody else. And those stories arose a long time ago and have kept coming out again and again. But I don't think I am.
You feel hurt by them?
Well, obviously one does. You feel very wounded, and if it comes out, you think, oh gosh, I don't want to go out and do my engagement this morning. Nobody wants to see me. Help, panic. But you've got to push yourself out and remember that some people hopefully won't believe everything they read about you, because there's far too much about me in the newspapers, far too much. It horrifies me when there's something more important, like what goes on in a hospice or there's been a bomb or something. They'll put me on the front page.
But there is a natural and continuing interest in you. For example, have you actually tried to change Prince Charles in any way since you got married?
Not at all. I mean, obviously the one or two things, like maybe the odd tie or something, but nothing. Shoes. We won't go any further. But nothing dramatic.
Well, would you say that you had many common interests? Would you say you had many mutual friends?
Yes, we do. But obviously, there's not always the time, especially in a weekday, to see them. And I sometimes have my friends to lunch if my husband's out, or we have people to dinner whenever we can. But my husband goes to a lot of dinners, whereas the wives aren't required. So we can't always find a date to suit both of us. But I enjoy polo enormously. I mean, I go to as many matches as I can. So the myth about me hating it is really quite out of control. And other things that he does, the opera and things.
I just like that in that interview you can kind of see that like they can get along, like they can be kind of jokey, kind of playful, but you can tell that they don't really hang out a lot.
Right. It's like, oh yeah,
But
sometimes we have dinner together when it works for both of us.
listen, I love polo. I go when I can.
Love it. Don't know why people think I hate it.
I also included this clip of the kids at the end of the interview
now,
because I just think it's cute.
Roll out the babies.
The babies.
What is he doing with his face?
So if you turn slightly towards me, I'm just trying to avoid a light in the window. Nice. Go.
Harry!
Harry, no! He's trying to do my house off. Harry, stop your house! Harry!
Look, sit him on your shoulder.
Harry! Hey! Papa! Look!
Gotcha. Be careful. Don't put it too much.
Harry!
Harry!
Don't move!
Charles does not seem like a natural father at all.
Oh, no. Absolutely
Even
not.
that picture earlier, I think when they were in Australia, like,
Yeah.
and William's like next to him, he's like, his body language is like, he's like leaning away from his child, like, gross.
I thought that too, but also at the same time, I think what's happening, if I can get there, is he's holding up his legs so that William has something to stand up, like hold himself with.
But even regardless,
But it does look like he's like,
yeah. I was gonna say, like, I get that, but also like, you could put your hand out. I don't know. It just feels very like, she's very like, oh, my baby, and he's like,
Yeah.
baby.
I just thought that Williams, oh, Harry! It reminds me of Charlie, you bit my
Charlie.
finger, Charlie.
That's exactly the
Ow!
vibe I got.
So, 1986, we get a new sister-in-law. Andrew marries Fergie. And, of course, anytime there's two girls married to some siblings in the royal family, we're going to compare the two. But both of them, thank
And that
you,
was a very well timed stretch.
thank you. She has her leg on my arm right now.
Love her.
Um, so it's the press that are also pitting them against each other, but also the family does it, and like
Ew.
Fergie's. We don't know where we want to be. Uh, Fergie's a lot more fun, and she's just like more relaxed. I think also she's the Duchess of York, and it's not your position isn't quite as under pressure as the Princess of Wales, who's going to be the
Got
queen.
it.
Also, she's married to Andrew, who's a goofball slash weirdo. Um, but yeah, like Charles is always like, I don't know why you can't be more like her. Diana's even like, she makes it look so easy. But then at the same time, if you watch like the press talk about Fergie, she's not as pretty as Diana, so they say, and she's fatter, and they call her the Duchess of Pork, and that she's just like classless. So like neither one of them can win.
Okay.
Yeah. But through Fergie, Diana starts seeing an astrologer named Penny Thornton. Penny claims that she told Diana that you've got to convert your passivity and your suffering and turn it into a strength and go help other people who are suffering. But I really feel like Diana was already doing that to begin
I
with
was
because
gonna
she liked
say.
hanging out with people who were older and sick and children and animals. She already liked doing that stuff, but whatever. And a couple years after that, she'll see Debbie Frank more frequently, who's another astrologer. Diana talks about having lots of feeling of deja vu, and she might be a clairvoyant. Like, there was one time that she was watching. Charles was attempting to be a jockey for a little while. At 31, he decided he wanted to try being a horse jockey, which is a little late in the game.
Remember when I said he didn't like his kids?
She said she was watching this with like one of her guards, and she told him that she's like, that horse is gonna have a heart attack and die, and then it did. hmm Actually, Charles talks about it in another video like a few years ago. It is the saddest fucking thing I ever heard, and I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it in Charles's episode. But yeah, this is the start of Diana just feeling like she's a little third eye.
Got it.
Um, according to Diana, at this point, she's still trying to keep her illness kind of like to herself. So, like, she's not telling her sisters about it. It's more like Charles knows and the Queen knows, and a lot of people like the royal family know through word of mouth. And the stress from the bulimia is what they figured is why the marriage fell apart.
Yeah. Not the fact that he was sleeping with another woman.
No. Or, like, even if he wasn't sleeping with her at the beginning of the marriage, he is definitely holding on
He was always been in
to,
love with her.
like,
There's always been the emotional affair.
the emotional affair, the trinkets, the pictures. Like, he's literally holding on to it.
Right.
And, like, every time she has a moment where she's over emotional and she's trying to, like, get him to understand her, he's like, I don't have fucking time for this. And then that is what makes her escalate to the next level of, like, no, I need you to listen to me. So now I'm going to, like,
Do something
hurt
dramatic.
myself.
Yeah. So, do other people know about his situation with Camilla at this time, or is this stuff that comes out later?
So 85, 86. 86 is when he admits that he went back to Camilla. Like later on in 1994, we'll get there, but he will admit that in 1986 he went back to Camilla. But 1985, 1986, Diana is also starting to, like, find affection elsewhere.
Got it.
I think at this point they'd just kind of given up, but they didn't want to get divorced, kind of deal.
Okay.
But I think that romantic part of her still really wanted for there to be a relationship that there never was.
Got it.
Which is the only reason I could think of why you would still be trying to get this man to listen to you. Who has shown time and time again he doesn't have time for it.
Right. Nor
And
really
doesn't
the
care.
desire to do it because he just hasn't.
Yeah.
Cute.
So she fills her time with flirting with other men, and also she really, like, starts to direct more attention to her patronages. She chooses the ones that are more around children and people with illnesses. She says that she really tried to bring herself down to people, like, not seem like, I'm the Princess of Wales coming to visit you.
Right. She
Say
wanted it to be
hello.
more human.
Yeah, so she said she always stayed on top of any popular TV shows so that she could talk about the TV show. So she would be like, it was a point of conversation. And she felt like it was easier for her to talk to very, very old people and dying people. But I don't know if it's because she felt a kinship to the suffering, but she said she always loved making people feel better. I'm wondering if that's because nobody else was making her feel better, so she at least felt good being able to do it for other people.
Right.
I don't want to talk. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about all of the men that people reportedly saying she was having an affair with, because in Diana's interview, when she's talking about different men that she liked or whatever, she would often talk about having crushes a lot. So I don't know if a lot of them were actual, like, having an affair physically.
Or we're just, I put his poster on the wall.
Right. Yeah. But this guy's 100% a physical affair.
I couldn't tell at all.
This is James Hewitt. He was part of the household cavalry, and he gave her riding lessons. Take that how you want to. Their affair was between 1986 and 91.
Oh, long time.
Yeah, and she ended it because the affair was exposed, and eventually he would like give somebody information to make a book about the affair, and she was like, definitely not. We're definitely over. And apparently when it ended, he almost tried to kill himself. So it must have been a real good relationship. Uh
Or they
I
were
find
just
that
a really
really,
good match for each other.
yeah, but also she's attached to like a few other men at the same time.
Oh, got it.
Like I feel like she could see certain people when it worked,
Right.
and so she wasn't fully in like an affair with James Hewitt. Like Charles had Camilla.
Right. And that's it.
Like there's rumors of other women, but I feel like it was Camilla.
Right.
Because he went to her for everything. He called her all the time whenever there was a problem.
Right.
Um there were rumors that he was Harry's father because he had red hair, but according to James, and I believe them because Harry was born in 84, but these two started their affair in 86. So he's like, it's mathematically impossible.
Right.
It's physically impossible. Um, Ken Worf was one of Diana's bodyguards. He wrote a book. He was around during this time and he would help coordinate their date times, secret places they could get away. He said that the pair usually met at an old cottage in Devon belonging to somebody named Shirley. Oh, Hewitt's mother.
Some lady named Shirley.
If I just read the next words. They would usually meet at an old cottage in Devon, where the creaking bedroom floorboards told the story more loudly than any confession.
Okay.
From here on out, there are attempts to attach her to other men, mostly rumor, but she did admit to a lot of crushes, like I said. There's a bodyguard named Barry Monarchy.
Definitely thought you were going to say Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow? Oh, I didn't have it. I thought I put a picture of Barry. No, sorry, Barry. There's a period of there's a quote where she's talking about another guy around the same time as James that she loved so much. And it's believed to be Barry Manicky. He was removed from being a bodyguard because people thought that his relationship with the princess was inappropriate. And then soon after that, died in a mysterious car crash. And Diana thought that maybe conspiracy theory, the car crash was not an accident.
Got it. Is this her stepping on his robe? What's happening here?
No, this is I didn't realize this picture was next.
Okay, all right. I'm disregarding said picture.
1987 trip to Portugal. That's where this is.
Got it.
I chose this picture because I just thought it was interesting from their trip to Portugal.
Is this some sort of tradition?
It doesn't seem to be a tradition because nobody else could explain it, but it just happened that they were going to an event where all these students were, and they put their coats out as like a carpet for them to walk on.
Okay.
As a sign of welcoming them.
Got it.
I guess it's kind of like old-fashioned, like throw your coat on a puddle so the lady doesn't get her shoes wet kind of deal, but like there's no puddle.
And they're walking on them too.
Yes, of course. Diana says that Portugal was the last time that Charles and Diana are close as man and wife. Reporters reported
No way.
that, well, I don't know if they reported it, but there was talks that the two of them were staying in separate suites. So the cracks in the foundation are starting to show. Later in the summer, they have a trip to Spain to see the Spanish royal family. And the press notices that Charles goes home alone. And that summer, Diana doesn't go to Balmoral with the rest of the royal family. 1987, also, Diana opened the first purpose-built HIV/AIDS unit in the UK. And this is the first photograph of her shaking somebody's hand without gloves who has contracted HIV.
Got it.
And so that was
A big
at the time because everybody thought you could just get it by touching people.
Right.
These images have nothing to do with what I'm about to say. I just chose them because they were concurrent. And also, I like her headband that was supposed to be a necklace, but she had a sunburn on her neck, so she wore it as a headband.
That's hysterical.
1988, the year I was brought into this world. Diana starts having some relief from bulimia and depression because I was brought into this world. Could also be because she starts to see Dr. Maurice Lipsitch. She sees him once a week to talk through things that have upset her. He tells her there's actually nothing wrong with her. It's your relationship with your husband.
So she goes to see a therapist and she starts feeling better.
See, she's been seeing many psychologists and like psychiatric people who have been trying to give her Valium.
Right.
This time she sees somebody who's like, hey, what's wrong? Well, that's okay. We can work through it. And then he gives her books to read so she can learn about bulimia so she understands what it's about and that she knows she's not the only one who copes this way with stress and whatnot. And my next note is all capitals. Oh my God, he listens to her and understands her. Crazy.
The therapist, not Charles, right?
No. Oh no. 1989. Camilla's sister's 40th birthday party. I'd like you to read about it. It is almost 4 of these pages.
Oh gosh. Okay. Camilla's sister's 40th birthday. Nobody expected me to turn up, but again, a voice inside me said, go for the hell of it. So I psyched myself up something awful. I decided I'm not going to kiss Camilla hello anymore. I'm going to shake hands with her instead. This was my big step. And I was feeling frightfully brave and bold, and basically Diana's going to come away having done her bit. He needled me the whole way down the Ham Common where the party was. Oh, why are you coming tonight? Needle, needle, needle. The whole way down. I didn't bite. I was very, very on edge. But I was very, very on edge. Anyway, I walk into the house and stick my hand out to Camilla for the first time and think, phew, I've got over that. There were about 40 of us there, and we all sat down, bearing in mind they were all my husband's age. I was a total fish out of water, but I decided I'm going to try my hardest. I was going to make an impact. And then after dinner, we were all upstairs, and I was chatting away, and suddenly I noticed there was no Camilla and no Charles upstairs. So this disturbed me, so I make my way to go downstairs. I know what I'm going to confront myself with. They tried to stop me from going downstairs. Oh, Diana, don't go down there. I'm just going to find my husband. I would like to see him. I've been upstairs about an hour and a half, so I was entitled to go down and find him. I go downstairs, and there was a very happy little threesome going on downstairs. Camilla, Charles, and another man chatting away. So I thought, right, this is your moment. and joined in the conversation as if we were all best friends. And the other man said, I think we ought to go upstairs now. So we stood up and I said, Camilla, I'd love to have a word with you if that's possible. And she looked really uncomfortable and put her head down. And I said to the men, okay, boys, I'm just going to have a quick word with Camilla, and I'll be up in a minute. And they shot upstairs like chickens with no heads. And I could feel upstairs all hell breaking loose. What's she gonna do? I said to Camilla, would you like to sit down? So we sat down, and I was utterly terrified of her. And I said, Camilla, I would just like you to know that I know exactly what is going on. She said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, I know what's going on between you and Charles, and I just want you to know that. And she said, oh, it's not a cloak and dagger situation. I said, I think it is. I wasn't as strong as I'd like, but at least I got the conversation going. She told me, you never let him see the children when he's up in Scotland. I told her, Camilla, the children are either at Highgrove or in London. That's Charles's biggest fault. He never sees the children. But I never take them away. The other day, for instance, William said, Papa, will you play with us? Oh, I don't know if I have time. Famous quote, always happens. So we can't gripe about that. Anyway, going back to Camilla. She said to me, you've got everything you've ever wanted. You've got all the men in the world falling in love with you, and you've got 2 beautiful children. What more could you want? I didn't believe her, so I said, I want my husband. Someone came downstairs to relieve us, obviously. For God's sake, go down there. They're having a fight. It wasn't a fight. Calm. Deathly calm. And I said to Camilla, I'm sorry I'm in the way. I obviously am in the way and it must be hell for both of you. But I do know what is going on. Don't treat me like an idiot. So I went upstairs and people began to disperse. In the car on the way back, my husband was over me like a bad rash. She really likes that phrase. And I cried like I've never cried before. It was anger. It was 7 years pent up anger coming out. I cried and cried and cried, and I didn't sleep that night. And the next morning when I woke up, I felt a tremendous shift. I'd done something. I said what I felt, still the old jealousy and anger swirling around, but it wasn't so deathly as before. And I said to him at the weekend 3 days later, darling, I'm sure you'll want to know what I said to Camilla. There's no secret. You may just ask her. I just said I loved you. There's nothing wrong with that. He said, I don't believe it. I said, that's what I said to her. I've got nothing to hide. I'm your wife and the mother of your children. That always makes him slightly twitch when I say the mother of your children. He hates being made aware of it.
Awkward.
Awkward.
Awkward. So, I don't think that would have happened if she hadn't started seeing an actual therapist.
Right, who was like, you're not the problem. It's the problem is your husband is cheating on you.
Also, you should really speak up about things that bother you. So that's what she's doing here.
Crazy.
But then after that, okay, yep, careful, please don't step on the keyboard. Thank you. After that, 1991, she starts taking that a little step too far because I think Charles and her are liking the being kind of separated, but nobody really knows kind of deal.
Right, it's working
Like they
for
can
them.
kind of do what they want, but they're getting the benefits of being this dream team
Right.
in the public. But in 1991, this is James Colehurst. This is a friend of Diana's who
A friend?
was no,
Okay.
was an actual friend. He was a go-between for Andrew Morton, the guy that wrote Diana in her own words.
Got it.
And Diana. So this guy would visit Diana at Kensington Palace, interview her with the questions that Andrew Morton gave him, record her answers on the tape, and then he would bring the tapes back to Andrew.
Got it. Okay, I kind of remember this from The Crown.
Which is where I'm getting all these clips and things for you to read. Those are the things she's telling James.
Right.
I guess one thing that Andrew said that he wouldn't do for Diana is that she wanted the title of the book to be called Diana the True Story. And he was like, is it though? Because it's only your point of view.
Right.
So he's like, it's got to be her true story. And she was like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this. But she eventually like gave in. I think it's because I think I read somewhere years ago that she was reaching out to the public because nobody around her would help her get out of this marriage.
Got it.
And like the public is just hearing about how awful she is through different rumors from friends of Charles and whatever.
Right.
And she's like, can I explain to you why I'm a nightmare?
This villain
I'm
has
not always a
backstory.
nightmare. But there's a reason why sometimes I'm a nightmare. Oh, 1992. I'm going to let the Queen explain how well of a year it was.
1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
I don't know why everybody's laughing.
I was going
It's
to
not
say,
funny.
they're just like, it's funny, but it's not funny.
Yeah, so the annus horribilis is because at the end of this year, Charles and Diana are going to officially separate.
Mhm.
Also, Andrew and Fergie are going to officially separate, and Anne and Mark Phillips are going to divorce. So 3 marriages for her 4 children are ending. And also, at one point, the Windsor Castle was on fire.
So basically, not a good year.
Yeah, so this is also with the royal family kind of being the representative of the whole country. You kind of want their marriages to be stable.
And your house
And with
not on
everybody
fire.
getting divorces and just being an absolute mess. You know how people say that lately everybody says, what's the point of the monarchy?
Mhm.
It's not at the level it was in 1992 when they were like, why do we give you guys money? You can't even get your shit together.
Got it.
Like, it was bad. It also gets real bad again after Diana dies because everybody starts talking about how poorly she was treated and now she's dead, and like it just seems like the royal family doesn't seem to care that much. Like, why do we keep these people around?
Got it.
So it's actually better now. They have a better relationship with the public than they did in the 90s.
Yay.
Oh, there he is. There's Andrew Morton. At the time, he tells people that the stuff in the book he got from interviewing friends and family, and he would keep that promise, that secret, until Diana died.
And then, like, the second she died, it was cool.
Yeah. So,
Awesome, she's dead.
yeah, so I just saw an interview with him like a couple days ago. I think the interview might have been a month ago, but I saw the interview a couple days ago. Where he was like, if she was still alive, I'd still be telling you that.
Okay.
1992 is also the year that the Sun publicly revealed recorded calls between Diana and a man named James Gilby.
The squidgy tapes.
Who was squidgy tapes. James Gilby was a friend from childhood. The recordings are from like 1989. And this was one of those guys that we don't know exactly how far their relationship was. But she said that like it was definitely a few years of at least some awkward phone calls that people had been able to record. Apparently, like random people in the public were able to like find the frequencies to record the calls.
I mean, I remember
I
there
don't.
being a piece again. Like I know it's the Crown, but I remember like there being was it even in the Crown or was it something else I watched? I thought it was in the Crown, where like she was like people were like kind of like quote unquote like picking on her because they're like you're being paranoid because she would hear like clicking on the phone call and like
Yeah.
couldn't figure out what
This
it
this
was, and she was like I'm being listened to,
yeah.
and they're like no you're not.
This is like the first time recordings get. I think this is the only time recordings are put out there, but that's enough to make me feel paranoid about my phone lines. And then later next year, Charles and Camilla, one of their phone calls from 1989 is also going to be published, which is more embarrassing than this one.
Mhm.
Um, but there's that, and the fact that after she gets divorced, um, she's gonna have reasons that I'll get into why she's extremely paranoid because somebody's made her that way.
Mhm.
Um,
Is it the astrologist?
yeah. um, in 1992, we're still in 1992. It was a big year. It was a terrible
It
year
was.
and it
I
was a
was
big
gonna say it
year.
was a horrible year.
Um, so the book from Andrew Morton goes out, but then she invites over Peter Setlin, who's a voice coach, to help develop her public speaking voice because she's turning her attention to more about patronages and like helping the world, and so she's going to need to make a lot of speeches and
Mhm.
stuff. Uh, and I guess during these meetings, he asks her questions and records her, and I don't know if it's to like play them back to her so she can hear herself talk or something. But I clipped one of the questions he asked her because it's her talking about the engagement interview and what she was thinking at the time.
So I was brought up in the sense that, when you got engaged with someone, you loved them. And the most extraordinary thing is we had this ghastly interview the day we announced our engagement, and this ridiculous ITN man said, "Are you in love?" So I thought, what a thick question. So I said, "Yes, of course we are," in the sort of fat stone ranger that I was. And Charles turned around and said, "What ever in love means." And that threw me completely. I thought, what a strange question.
How strange you
answer.
are.
God, how to traumatise me.
It's a pivot.
So yeah, where's that? There's a bunch of those. They're on YouTube if you want to listen to them. This is their final official tour. They went to another country, another foreign tour. They went to Korea. Every picture you find of them in Korea, they look fucking miserable.
Probably why it was the last one.
I mean, at this point, Squidgy Gate's out
Did you
there.
Kate?
There's there's rumors about affairs all over the place. Uh, they look miserable in public if you see them together. So, the end of the year, the Prime Minister had to announce to the House of Commons that they publicly agreed to separate. The princess based her household and her office at Kensington Palace, so she no longer lives in Highgrove. And the prince lives at Highgrove, but his office is at St. James Palace, which is near Clarence House in London. Um, and they continue to appear at like major national occasions as a family. Oh, that's Kensington Palace. And Kensington Palace has always been broken up into different apartments for some royal family members, but also for different, maybe smaller royal family members or people who worked for the family a long time and had a close relationship with the family, and they'll give them like grace and favor homes, so you like get an apartment to just live in for free.
Mhm.
Um, you see Nottingham Cottage over here in the corner. That's where Meghan and Harry lived when they lived in the Kensington Palace area, and they complained that it was awful. That's nice. Oh yeah, 1993. That's when Tampon Gate comes out. I think. Did you get to the last couple seasons of The Crown?
I think so, but why am I remember there being this conversation, but I don't remember the tampon. I don't think they got into like.
They did some of the transcript on the show, and it was very uncomfortable, and I didn't want to hear it.
I was gonna say I feel like I don't remember like that much of it though.
Yeah, I don't. I I did not want to play it, and I didn't want to read it again. So basically, it's just a recorded conversation back in like '89. Charles and Camilla talking about how much they mean the world to each other. You know, things he could have said to his wife.
Well, not if you don't meet him.
But then it also goes into like really weird things like I want to be in your panties all the time. Yeah. I don't want to get any further into that because I just think it's gross and I don't want to talk about it.
Like, well, now I'm like,
And it's like I could have played Squidgy Gate tapes and I could have played people doing reading the transcript for this.
I don't want to hear people.
But I don't want to hear people say it. And also, like, listening to the Squidgy Gate tapes where they didn't really say anything as explicit as Charles and Camilla's tape did, it still felt way too personal, and I didn't want to put it in here. I just wanted to say it happened. What are you looking at?
I'm reading the transcript quickly. Oh, there's a lot of it.
There is a lot.
So I feel like Charles is fucking weird.
Well, yeah.
Like, Camilla seems like she's a little bit just going along with it. Because he's saying some of the most ridiculous things, and she's just like, oh, darling, laughing.
I feel like that's a good representation for their entire relationship. Which would make sense for like when Charles and Diana were dating, and she was like, when he was around, he'd be all over me, and then he'd just disappear for 3 weeks, and I wouldn't hear from him. I feel like Camilla just goes along with that.
Right? And clearly, if they're using the tampon reference, I mean, it's kind of like a period. You hang out for a week, you want to be around, and then you're gone for the rest of the month.
Yeah. Ew.
Ugh.
I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't blame you. And also, like, why is like, did they just record for a long time just to see?
I don't know.
Because I feel like
I don't know if it.
some of this is just ridiculous. Like, it's just like two people talking. They say night, darling, 8 bazillion times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just personal conversations, not really anything I need to know
Right.
or hear or whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they want to believe that the royal folk are above that, but we all know that that's not true.
Let's see. 1993. This is Diana takes the kids to Walt Disney World. She announces publicly that she would like to reduce the extent of her public life in order to combine a meaningful public role and a more private life. Um, she's starting to feel better still, like since her therapy in 1988 when I was born. Um,
Just putting that back
just
out
saying
there.
things are looking better. She wants to spend more time with her kids, and you're starting to notice a difference in parenting where I wouldn't. I'm not sure I would say one parent is better than the other because hanging out with Diana could be an absolute freaking blast, or she could be crying incessantly and telling you all of her problems with your father. Or you can hang out with that. Also, the fact that the paparazzi are around all the time when you leave the house, and she just wants to like take you to McDonald's, and now she's driving crazy to keep you safe from the paparazzi,
You're also
and yet
not
she's
safe.
sobbing. Right, she's sobbing over that too, and it's really up and down with that one.
Fair.
Or you could be with Charles, who's gonna take you to one of the royal estates where you can roam freely and no one's gonna take your picture, but at the same time, all you can do is hang out.
And
But at least he's like pretty even keel, but he's not as fun as mom. Yeah. 1994, Charles decides he works with Jonathan Dimbleby, and Jonathan Dimbleby does an official biography that Charles approves, and then Jonathan Dimbleby does an interview with Charles where he tries to seek some public understanding because people have learned, obviously through Tampon Gate and whatnot, that he's been cheating on Diana this whole time.
Right.
And like, I don't remember or I don't know how much they knew about Diana having extramarital affairs, but everybody is definitely more mad at Charles because I don't know how much the public knows, but you can tell that like his relationship with Camilla has been forever.
Right.
And it has ruined Diana's mental health.
Right.
So clearly it's not the same. Um, mostly in the interview, he mostly talks about stuff in the biography. The only tidbit of spiciness is he flat out admits to cheating with Camilla and that it started up again in 1986. The thing that pisses me off is that he says that the relationship had become irretrievably broken down. And I've only heard him talk about his relationship with Diana a couple of times. And each time he does it, he talks about it as if it was something that couldn't be stopped. Like, it wasn't my fault. I guess it wasn't her fault.
It was just meant to
It was
be.
just
I don't know what happened.
the relationship just fell apart. And it's like,
I wonder why.
I feel like you need to look a little deeper. you need to remember what exactly happened because granted she was legally an adult, but you were the adult in the situation
Right.
here.
And you kind of pursued a teenager.
Yeah. With your group of friends.
While also being in love with your other friend.
In September 1995, Diana meets a British Pakistani heart surgeon named Dr. Hasnat Khan. I didn't really know about him much until like a couple of years ago because there's very much a secret relationship. And also, he's just a surgeon. He's not somebody in the public eye at all. So I'm imagining it's a lot easier to keep a relationship like that on the down
Right.
low. She met him at a hospital while comforting one of her friends, who I think her husband had surgery. And 2 weeks later, she went back to the hospital, and apparently Diana and Khan found themselves alone in a hospital elevator, and he invited her to visit his aunt and uncle in Stratford upon Avon. That is a direct quote from Khan. He also said, and this is not just him talking to the papers, this is what he told the police in an interview about Diana after her death. Because I'm assuming this is during the investigation where they were trying to investigate if the accident was an accident or if something was going on. He also told police, I did not think for 1 minute that she would say yes, but I asked her if she would come with me, and I was very surprised when she said she would. After this, our friendship turned into a relationship. That's nice.
Right, this feels like too wholesome. What an actual meet cute.
Right? I like. Um, 1995, we have the Panorama interview that everybody knows about. And I was going to do a picture of her in the interview, but really I want to point at this mofo because I hate him. That's Martin Bashir. He capitalized on Diana's reported paranoia and ratcheted it up more by faking some bank statements that said they were paying off members of her staff and her security to feed them information. So she was going to do this interview to get ahead of whatever they were going to report. So now she doesn't trust her security. She doesn't trust her staff. She's also afraid that if they're going to be paid off to talk to the press, they must be reporting back to the palace with anything that she's doing. This is the interview where she famously says that there were 3 of us in that marriage, so it's a bit crowded because of Camilla. In 2020, the BBC Director General Tim Davie apologized to the princess's brother, Charles Spencer. In 2021, Prince William also does a little. Oh, I didn't put it in. I didn't put a clip in it. But Prince William does a little video where he kind of slams the BBC for not only hiring this guy, but people had to cover this up. And so he's like, not only are you going to apologize, but you're never going to air this again, and you're never going to license anybody else to air this ever again. He does say that because she was tricked into giving the interview that what she said wasn't true. I don't 100% agree with all of that. But either way, not cool. August of 1996, Charles and Diana are officially divorced. They share equal responsibility for bringing up the children. I already said both parents have their pros and cons. Ultimately, they both care about the children's upbringing, and Charles kind of defers any decision making about the children to Diana because he does believe that she's a good mom. So, like, she chooses what schools they go to and stuff like that. And from what I've seen, it kind of seems like their relationship starts to mellow as they are actually divorced and can kind of be friends. and can kind of joke around and stuff. Like there was a video I saw this past week of Charles dropping the kids off at Kensington, or not, he wasn't dropping the kids off. He was near Kensington Palace, really had to pee. So he asked if he could stop at Kensington Palace to use the bathroom real quick. And she was like, yeah, sure. And then he comes out of the palace and is going back to his car. And she runs out after him and in front of everybody is like, same time next week? She's like, come on over. We're best friends now. She still gets to keep the title Princess of Wales, but agrees to drop Her Royal Highness. She can't use that in any official capacity. She resigns from most of her charities and patronages. She gets a lump sum of £17 million, which in today's money is $33 million or $43 million, plus an additional $1 million per year.
Bummer.
She gets to keep any jewelry she amassed throughout the marriage, except the Cambridge Lover's knot that the Queen gifted her as a wedding present. Not the one she wore at the wedding, because that was her Spencer tiara, but it was just a gift, and she wore it quite a lot. And Catherine wears it now. Buckingham Palace said that Diana would continue to be regarded as a member of the royal family and will from time to time receive invitations to state and national public occasions at the invitation of the sovereign of the government. She gets to keep her apartment in Kensington Palace, and she's allowed access to the royal family jets.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah. This is also when she is offered to keep security but refuses it, which means whenever she's going out and about, the paparazzi have a field day. Yay.
Whee! Yeah.
In July of 97, Mohammed Al Fayed invites Diana and her sons to his villa in Saint Tropez, and they get to like cruise around on his $32 million yacht. She was still dating the surgeon. He told police that when Diana went to Saint Tropez with Mr. Al Fayed, everything was fine between us, and then after a few days, I felt like something was wrong. So that's not cool. At the end of July, Diana met the surgeon at Kensington Palace and told him that it was all over. And then the next time she goes out to hang out with Mohammed Al Fayed, he invites Dodi, his son, over. Dodi was allegedly engaged to a model at the time, but that didn't seem to matter either. That ends, but the model's name is Kelly Fisher, and she does sue Dodi for a breach of contract because Dodi offered her $500,000 to ditch her modeling career to spend more time with him, but only paid her $60,000 and a $200,000 check that bounced. These are really great people. Okay. I don't know. I feel like if I was Charles, I'd be uncomfortable with my children hanging out with these people.
You're right.
But okay. I guess we don't want to rock the boat. On August 30th, Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed fly to Paris. The boys go to Balmoral for their yearly family vacation. On August 31st, it's towards the evening, Diana calls Balmoral to talk to the kids like she does most days. And they were busy playing with their cousins, so like they had a really short conversation that was like, yeah, everything's great, goodbye. William remembers that and obviously regrets not being able to have a more intimate conversation with his mom, but like he didn't
Right.
know. And Harry doesn't remember any of it and is really beating himself up over the fact that he not only didn't have time for her, but doesn't even remember the phone call.
Right.
So that's Harry. He's got some problems. Um, yeah. So this is the last picture that we can get when we definitely know she was alive, other than the fact that they were taking pictures of her in the car after the crash. I didn't look for any of those because I don't want to see
Fair.
it. It's a high-speed accident in the Place de l'Alma. It's a tunnel that goes under a road. They were going like 60 miles an hour. Supposedly the driver was drunk as well. He's actually one of the security guys for, like, he was one of the Al Fayed security people because Diana didn't have her own
Right.
security anymore. And a lot of people say that if she had royal security, this might not have happened. Um, I think the only person wearing a seatbelt in the car is the security guard in the front seat, and he's the only person to survive the accident. The driver and Dodie died on scene, and then Diana would be sent to the hospital, and after 2 hours of emergency surgery, she would be declared dead at 3 o'clock in the morning. The Prince of Wales and the princess's older sisters flew to Paris in the morning to accompany her coffin. The coffin was draped with the royal standard. It was removed from the aircraft when they landed and transferred to a hearse. The prime minister was also waiting for her when she landed. She was taken to a private mortuary in London so they could do all the necessary legal formalities. And then her coffin was taken to the Chapel Royal in St. James's Place, where it would sit for a few days waiting for the funeral because the royal family went directly into royal family funeral mode. Like they essentially did what they were going to do for the Queen Mother's funeral in a few years. They just kind of modified it and had to arrange everything, all the security and the procession to get her through London. So that obviously took a few days. During that few days, the boys, like the whole royal family, stayed in Balmoral to stay away from the absolute insanity that was happening down in London. And people took that as they didn't really seem to care because there was no message put out to the public at all for like a
Got
week.
it. So it wasn't just like they said, like, "Hey, in these difficult times, we're taking some space to be a family." It was just they
Right.
went somewhere else and didn't say anything.
It was like batten the hatches, like holy
Right.
crap.
Don't engage.
Exactly. Like we have a ton of work to, like we have a lot to arrange right
Right.
now. And also like she was regarded as a member of the family but was divorced from it. So they also had to figure out like what level of funeral do we give this
Right.
woman? And we also have to obviously take into factor how deeply she's loved. Like, the amount of flowers was absolutely ridiculous.
It was just like mountains.
Yeah.
That's so much plastic.
Oh, yeah. Princess Margaret, as much as we love her, when she was older, cranky old lady, she lived in Kensington Palace, and so people were leaving millions of flowers outside of her apartment, and she was complaining about having to smell all these flowers rotting outside her apartment. Margaret.
Kind of fucking funny, though.
So, the funeral was at Westminster Abbey on September 6, 1997. There were representatives of the charities that she worked with that were allowed to walk behind her coffin. Obviously, we have her brother, her sons, Charles, Prince Philip, all walking behind her. It was, according to Harry's book, Diana's brother Charles didn't want the boys in the procession because it was too much. And I think Harry would agree that at the same time, like, on one hand, yeah, it is too much, but he would have regretted
not doing it
if he hadn't done it. When Diana's coffin went by Buckingham Palace, the royal family was just standing outside as the procession went by, and the Queen actually bowed her head, which, like, never happens because she is the Queen.
Right.
So that was good. As you'll notice, Margaret is standing next to her, not bowing.
Right, she's like, I'm sick of these fucking flowers.
On the coffin, there's a note that the boys wrote to their mom, and it's Harry's handwriting that says "Mummy" on the outside. That made everybody just start absolutely bawling. The coffin was then taken by road to the family estate at Althorp, which is like almost an hour north from here, for a private interment. It's buried in sanctified ground on an island in the center of an ornamental lake on her family estate.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh no, where'd it go? I had a video. I took the time to download a video. Please hold. I need to find it. All right. Oh, no? You don't get to listen. Okay, that's fine.
An overwhelming expression of sadness at Diana's death. We have all been trying in our different ways to cope. It is not easy to express the sense of loss, since the initial shock is...
Is the audio
Yeah.
off? Screw it. Never mind. Anyways. I don't know. Maybe I'll try one more time.
Throughout Britain and around the world, an overwhelming expression of sadness at Diana's death. We have all been trying in our different ways to cope. It is not easy to express the sense of loss, since the initial shock is often succeeded by a mixture of other feelings: disbelief, incomprehension, anger, and concern for those who remain. We have all felt those emotions in these last few days. So what I say to you now, as your Queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others, and especially for her devotion to her 2 boys. This week at Balmoral, we have all been trying to help William and Harry come to terms with the devastating loss that they and the rest of us have suffered. No one who knew Diana will ever forget her. Millions of others who never met her, but felt they knew her, will remember her. I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death. I share in your determination to cherish her memory. This is also an opportunity for me, on behalf of my family, and especially Prince Charles and William and Harry, to thank all of you who have brought flowers, sent messages, and paid your respects in so many ways to a remarkable person. These acts of kindness have been a huge source of help and comfort. Our thoughts are also with Diana's family and the families of those who died with her. I know that they too have drawn strength from what has happened since last weekend, as they seek to heal their sorrow and then to face the future without a loved one. I hope that tomorrow we can all, wherever we are, join in expressing our grief at Diana's loss and gratitude for her all too short life. It is a chance to show to the whole world the British nation united in grief and respect. May those who died rest in peace, and may we, each and every one of us, thank God for someone who made many, many people happy.
I just feel like it is important because she does come in at the end and be like, hey, we weren't not listening. Kind of going through a lot right now, guys. But also like that she did get to come in and say some nice stuff about Diana.
We'll give her that.
Because it's something you don't really get from Charles. Something that really gets under my skin about him is that he can't ever just mention her.
Right, like even acknowledge that she existed and that even though she was a flawed person, like there were some redeeming qualities about her that clearly other people saw.
Right, that like she was the mother of your children again, but also the entire world was freaking in love with her. I don't know if you could tell from her funeral, my dude, but it would be nice if you could say some nice things that aren't just, we both wish that the marriage hadn't turned out like it did.
Right.
So I had 5 slides left before I hit 100. So I just thought we'd throw in some smiling, happy pictures, like her dancing with John Travolta at the White House.
That's John Travolta?
1985, John
Oh my
Travolta.
God.
Hanging out with her kids. Everybody's so happy.
Sears photo.
Look at her. I love this. This is a Christmas card.
That's a power pose if I've ever seen one. And look at that belt buckle.
I know. There's a statue at Kensington Palace in the Gardens that the Prince Harry and William unveiled, and it was literally the last thing they did together before they could not be in the same place. They unveiled the statue, and she's wearing this outfit in the statue.
A choice. I love it.
And this is the last one. So, That was Diana.
Like, it's crazy to compress this person into. Because how old is she when she died?
36. Same age I am.
Okay, well.
Like, imagine in my lifetime becoming like the most photographed and most like hounded woman in the world and then just dying out of nowhere.
Well, that's just it. It's like she died out of nowhere, but then like it was right after. I mean, not right after, but it was after the divorce, and like there's just so many things around it, and like I feel like so much of it didn't come out until later, and like I mean, some of it did, like was out then, but like
I feel like when people found out about the cheating, people were definitely more angry at Charles, which is why he did an interview
right,
trying to, I don't know, make himself more personable and understood. But when she died, it was like 1,000 times worse. Like, people wanted Camilla to die. As much as they were mad at Charles, they were more mad at Camilla. Like, when we get to Camilla's episode and when we talk, I chose to do Camilla's episode and then talk about the media after her because it's insane the levels of hatred that woman got for so long. And now, in general, people don't really like that she's queen. Like, there's still like a, we don't really like that you're there. But if you ask people who know anything about her, there's like a respect for her that she went through all that shit and she never complained about it.
right.
I don't even know how I feel about Camilla. I feel like if I met her at a party, she would be someone interesting to talk to because she seems like, well, she was brought up in the aristocracy and also went to finishing school and also like knows how to socialize. So like she knows how to small talk with people. But like she just seems like such a chill person, but at the same time you're like you were part of that.
Right.
You ruined somebody's life.
And now you're kind of reaping
And
all the benefits of it.
I mean, it doesn't really seem like she wanted to be queen.
Right.
She just kind of wanted to be around Charles.
I don't know. It's just craziness.
This episode is, again, far too long, and I cut out the news.
Well, again, there's like you're covering somebody's like entire life who was incredibly well documented in a way.
Well documented, and I didn't even like cover like there's so much that people said about her that I wasn't gonna include because there wasn't any way to like it didn't feel right to me or I couldn't like verify it, and it's like people are gonna disagree with what I've said about Diana because there's still a group of people, especially since she was like canonized after she died, like went into sainthood
Right.
because she's dead. So now everybody's like, oh my God, she was the best thing that ever happened. And so after that goes on in the media for a while, you do get a group of people that are like, "Nuh-uh, she's not that great. She actually sucked." And so there's a lot of people that'll be like, she had a lot of boyfriends before she met Charles. She's a liar. And you're like, why would she lie about that? And if she did lie about that, people would have stories.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right. This one is kind of a downer.
it's kind of a downer. Is there anything that we'll talk about in the news coming up? It's Monday, Thursday, which I'm not gonna try to explain because then I'd have to Google it again. I just know that Charles the monarch gives out money on Maundy, Thursday before Easter, and I don't remember why. It's Easter
Feels
related
like a
thing.
Jesus-y thing.
Easter's coming, so they're gonna photograph the family going to church. The 21st is Queen Elizabeth's 99th birthday, if she was alive. The 23rd is Prince Louis's 7th birthday. He is alive. The 23rd, funny enough, is St. George's Day, which is like every country has their own patron saint, and St. George is the patron saint of England. So it's George's name day, but it's Prince Louis's birthday. And then the 25th is going to be Anzac Day, which is celebrating Australia, New Zealand stuff. What's the next episode? Oh, the next episode's about fashion.
Ooh.
Talk about fashion, talk about clothes. I'm gonna try to stay. I might dabble in a bit of jewelry, but I think jewelry needs its own thing and its own episode. We might get some news. We might cover some news. So I don't know how much I could talk about fashion.
All right. Well, hopefully not for 3 hours.
Hell to the no.
On that note,
in 2 weeks we will have a lighter,
shorter
episode.
Love it for everybody.
Love it. It's gonna be great. I did not mark any of the things I need to edit out of this episode, so wish me luck.
Oh God.
I should have written that
Probably.
down.
You know, it's funny too because in the moment I was like, "Ooh, you should mark this," and then I didn't say anything.
Yep. Okay. So, if for some god awful reason you're still listening to this episode, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, por favor. I'm gonna go. I am thirsty and hungry and all of the things that you'd need to do after
3 hours.
3 hours when you haven't done anything else except for prepare for this and then do
Fantastic.
it.
Love that plan.
Excellent. Everybody have a great day. Goodbye.